Should be fine. The audio version will have a slightly loud volume sound as I rolled that up very slightly, because I was concerned about our overall audio levels on the audio recording. Okay, that was too loud, me. Too much emphasis. I'll roll that back a little. I'll pull a little back. Hi, how you doing, chat? We're back. It's what's up. Lucky's gone. He's in the middle of. All right. Well, while he does that, and while I fiddle with my relative volume levels, I will try to glance at. I'll try to aside glance at Audacity a little bit less because I'm sure that makes I tilt my face away. I want to remind everybody this episode of Retro patrons like Adam DeHarp, Aga Comics, Akizme, Architect 10 Bucks, Doji, Carlos, Dragon, Ferris, Jeremy Vasquez, Just the Fate, Jonathan Sandoval, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kester, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Sharvor, Sean Pryor, Some Game Bob, Tyrant 23, Varen the Crow. We thank you for your support. It's really cool. Okay. Whew. Ran out of steam a little bit there. Live chat so I can catch all the messages. Yeah, heads up to everybody. My stomach's being a little weird today. Not perfect. So I didn't eat anything before we got started. So I might run out of juice like halfway through the show, but we'll see. I'm usually pretty okay on that. Feeling a little off kilter, very slightly. Sleep schedule is fucked, but anyway. Lucky, what are we playing?
I'm playing Amazing Cultivation Simulator. Hang on one second. I just realized some things. I don't think my mic was actually going for those first few minutes. I'm looking at audios, and I'm not picking up Discord. I mean, not Discord, desktop audio, which is the game audio. So I'm like, wait a second.
Well, if you chat at home, we're missing Lucky for that period. You can give me $1 because Audacity was recording my desktop sound output. The beauty of the stream juggler.
Okay, there.
YouTube is still yelling at us about the audio bitrate, but I usually assume that's a lie.
Well, that's why I double checked. I was all like, wait a minute, but that should have fixed it. That should have fixed everything.
Okay. Well,
I know what I'm doing.
I'm sure somebody in chat will let us know, or they won't because they didn't exist, and thus there was no problem. If an audio jack falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, did we or did they broadcast the sound?
Well, they wouldn't know. So it doesn't matter. Problem. What problem? You can't prove it.
So, Cultivation Simulator.
Cultivation Simulator. So, as everyone knows, I fucking love base building kind of games and stuff, and I do very much like games like RimWorld, Prison Architect, all that kind of stuff. This is that exact same kind of game, instead of being a prison or a off-world colony. You're a I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's spelled Xianxia, which just basically means Chinese fantasy or cultivation. A cultivation sect. And so basically the point is early in the game, your actual sect gets blown the fuck up by some dudes, and you and a few survivors go out into the middle of fucking nowhere and decide to rebuild. As you can see, this is like I'm still only in my first year.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've been playing this game a lot over the past few days. Actually, it almost messed me up a little bit. I was playing this game until 8 a.m. This morning.
Oh, you got big boy Civilization One More Turn syndrome, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Trust me, I know. I've played. Usually, you get that respect with 4X games, but with other builders, you can absolutely get there.
Well, it was one of those moments as if I literally had an epiphany, some enlightenment, if you will, on how I wanted to design
also,
my build.
I don't want to interrupt, Lucky, but for the love of God, holy shit, can somebody in chat say they hear us, please? Like, I cannot tell you how close I am to an actual anxiety attack because YouTube will not stop yelling at me. It keeps saying we have a bad audio bitrate. Hello, chat, do you exist? Please, tell me. Ugh. Okay, now that I've had an emotional outburst, you please continue. Okay. Architect said he heard us anyway. Good. Okay, thumbs up.
Yeah, no. Basically, so this is a game about just rebuilding your sect and having your people do cultivation, which is an interesting layer, which I like on top of it. Like you see these people up here. These people up here are cultivating. Basically, the way that cultivation normally works is usually through a lot of physical discipline, ingesting of magical herb or elixirs. They never say potions.
Yeah,
They're always
pretty typical
elixir.
Chinese mythology stuff.
And finding dank ass artifacts, help you in your growth, and all that kind of stuff. But on top of all that, you have to run a sect. So you basically have to build rooms, get fields, feed people, make sure they aren't mauled by wandering robbers who think you're easy pickings, even though you can throw everyone throwing flying swords. I never understood that, but hey, there you are. And so basically, people are usually divided up into two sections. There's the outer disciples, which are the lowly low ones. They're grunt work. They do the grunt peon work and actually build shit. And then there's the inner sect, which are the actual cultivation disciples who are on the path to immortality. Because everyone loves good old immortality. Normally, like I actually had to put a little mod in here because there was one thing that was annoying the fuck out of me. Basically, I put in a mod that lets the inner disciples work as normal, because normally, I'm gonna pull up this real quick. Normally, when an outer sect member becomes an inner sect member, they stop doing work completely. They don't do any of the basic bit shit again, which is a problem sometimes because occasionally you get characters who have really good at a skill, and if you like upgrade them, you just lose it. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I assume that's some kind of genre convention thing, but makes no gosh darn sense otherwise. Listen, buddy. I know you've upgraded to the inner sect, but you don't understand how good of a carpenter you are. I need you to keep perfecting this craft, please.
Well, a lot of the ones I've read, it's like normally inner sect disciples don't stop doing. They stop doing like the most basic of base stuff, but they still make shit and build shit. And this one, it's a little weird because then you go from making medicine to elixirs and stuff, and I'm like, no, you still need to make medicine. It's like you have people counting on you.
A game balance thing then originally, I don't know.
I guess so, but
because the thing is, this is drawn from not only a lot of like literature tropes I'm not familiar with, but some real life stuff and mythological tropes I'm a little more familiar with. And if you're trying to model like the way it works at like monasteries and like martial arts academies and stuff, the physical labor is usually part of the training at any level. Yes, when you get to be like really, really senior and old, no, you don't sweep floors anymore. But like, there's always something to do because a lot of people are of the opinion that physical labor builds character and mental discipline and stuff.
Yeah, normally like what you're supposed to do is only have maybe a few inner disciples and have a lot of outer disciples to Did I lose a door? I lost a fucking door. To take care of it, but I was all like, that's
maybe
way too fucking.
Maybe it became a jar.
It might have became a jar, or it became sentient and walked off. It can do that. Like shit's a little weird. It's great, but it's a little weird. Actually, hang on 1 second. Let me swap back over. I did not mean to hit that button. God damn it! There we go. I keep trying to pull up a YouTube chat on the side, but I keep hitting the OBS, which overlays everything, and then they can't see shit. I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
So the good thing about this game is occasionally you don't constantly have to be doing something. You can just let the game play as long as everyone has enough resources to do shit. You don't necessarily have to worry about it. So yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of slow life cultivation sect building today. On here. Well, I don't know. I'll probably get to some of the world things because there's more than just your area to go to. You got to go. There's other places to visit.
Yeah, you got to do some sweeping stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah, because you got to figure out who the fuck fucked up your sect, but
and seek revenge.
Seek revenge, yeah. There's evil sects out there that need a slapping in. But yeah, so it's like you can go out and like send your disciples out to take care of shit. You can set up branches and shrines in other places. There's just a lot of little things to do, and I'm just like, yes, this is nice.
Reminds me of a comparison I heard a long time ago. We've talked a lot about how Star Wars is especially the original trilogy, is very clearly heavily cribbed from Kurosawa films.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff like that. But a lot of people have mentioned that, in particular, Revenge of the Sith and the prequel trilogy is a lot more like and you may argue parts of Attack of the Clones, but it's a lot more like a wuxia film, like, you know, competing sects, and then, you know, Anakin falls to the dark sect and fucks everything up for everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, no, that actually like super tracks. And
it is certainly true that I assume due to the influences of movies like Crouching Tiger, you know, the prequel trilogy was a lot more acrobatic and wireworky than the original.
Oh yeah, no, like wuxia and Cultivation films, or fantasy films, I just say, are very floaty and fly. Lights fucking everywhere. You know.
That was definitely, I think, introduced to the Western pop culture with Crouching Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still, I don't think it ever, like, fully caught on here. You know, as a general rule, the Western audience has different buy-in for stuff, and the wire work for a lot of actual wuxia films with, you know, heavy wire work are really floaty, like you just said, which can be a little like obvious.
Mm-hmm.
We still do a shitload of wire work over here. Have you watched a Marvel movie lately?
I don't know. I still love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Just the scene where they're fighting on the lake top and the guy on the cedar stops, and so they pause and he starts playing again. It's like, oh.
Yeah, no. I like those films too. Heroes, another really good one.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the fight that's all in their mind,
mm-hmm.
and then they just turn it into one blow in the end. Mm.
And that's what I like a lot of the genres about. It's a lot about, you know, it's a lot about like discipline, honor, and loyalty, you know, those kind of things. And then, you know, grace, a lot of grace, got to be graceful, which is why I think a lot of them look so some floaties, because they want to give that appearance of effortlessness and serenity.
Well, and I think that makes sense because I assume a decent number of those like movies and other stories are probably drawing on like the 70s and 80s like Hong Kong action film genre,
mm-hmm.
With people like Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and stuff like that. And those guys were peaking opera performers first.
Oh yeah,
like they're basically coming from, you know, theater fighting. That's also why, you know, if you watch, there's a lot of extra work in a Jackie Chan fight scene. All the action beats interspersed with like prop comedy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever want to really jam to some good, you know, analysis, go watch Quarter Digital Stuntman React. They love to look at Jackie Chan movies there and talk about how nuts he is, because he does almost all the stuff, you know, himself. That's why he's broken, I think, almost all of his bones. But it sells the shot.
I'm sorry. Every time I think of Jackie Chan, I just remember him just getting punched by fucking Bruce Lee.
Yeah, he was an extra in what was it? Enter the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I believe that was choreographed by Sammo Hung.
I believe so. I can't remember.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those guys in those movies. Bruce Lee films are a different era of the martial arts genre.
No, that's more of like, I don't know. There's martial arts movies like The Raid, and then you go down to like Enter the Dragon, and then you probably get down to the level of a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I want to say.
Yeah, there's definitely like different layers. Like the Raid was written and choreographed obviously to be like very brutal, very gritty, very extreme.
Mm-hmm.
It's over the top, but in its own way, right?
Right.
And it was fairly groundbreaking. You know, with all the like close-in shots, the rapid-fire choreo, and just all that stuff. Though I also, from what I understand, Silat is a pretty brutal martial art too.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Enter the Dragon is a lot of Bruce Lee movies have to do with his own style. You know, so there's some like personal philosophy in there. And then sometimes Bruce Lee just whips out nunchucks and kicks the shit out of him. It's great. I love to watch the lightsaber edit of the nunchuck scene.
Oh, I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the best.
And then there's other stuff. I saw it a long time ago. I think I linked it on our Discord, but there was just now a Stunt Women React that Corridor just put out today. But they also looked at, you may have seen this online, people, the martial arts movie with the guy in a boat. I saw this clip, like, randomly on Twitter.
Guy with a boat. Oh, yeah. The guy.
Yeah, he's
I
like,
remember it. He's in a little, like, toy boat, and he just fights in it, just moving. Oh,
with
God.
the oars. And it's because that character is, like, missing a leg.
Mm-hmm.
So it's why he's riding around a little, like, wheelie boat. But, yeah, like, they analyze that, and that's just, like, that's goofy, but also, like, damn. Because, like, you know, they're doing all this, like, really expressive. That's, like, in the Jackie Chan style. It's very expressive and prop-heavy. Martial arts films are cool, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't been a lot of breakouts in that genre lately.
I think a lot of people have been focusing more on Korean cinema and whatnot recently.
Yeah, there's been some standout imports.
Like, with the whole, like, K-pop and K-drama breakout in the last several years, like, much more of an eye has been focused on Korea than anything else, I think, film-wise, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I suspect also, given that China itself has there was a lot of political tension in Hong Kong before COVID, and then China has a very strict lockdown policy over the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
There probably is not a lot of movie production going on over there right now. Movie genres, just like genres of anything else, is always interesting to see that kind of like rise and fall and roll. Like, you know, obviously, you know, starting with Iron Man in 2008, by the way, in case you forgot. You know, it's been over 10 years since, it's almost 15 years since, you know, we got the first Iron Man, which kind of set us down this path. But, like, superhero movies have obviously been on a big uptick after being literal clown shoes for several years. Though, I will say Nolan, obviously, I think probably set the stage because the Nolan Batman trilogy was a lot more of a, like, modern, gritty look. Its own flaws, but still very good. The Dark Knight is still amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I don't think we've produced a Joker performance that is better than Heath Ledger yet.
Oh, the Joker, I think, was stand out in its own way, but not in a Batman sense, in an artsy indie film kind of way.
I've never actually, I never got around to seeing that one. I should. I've heard good things, but yeah, like in terms of like, you know, as a Batman villain piece, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a Joker versus Batman trail because whatever the fuck was going on in Suicide Squad. Weird.
It's a little weird year.
And I understand the Joker can be that way. I'm not like some huge, you know, Joker stan, but he is very iconic, and I think when you do the Joker well, it can be very memorable. And when you do the Joker poorly, it can also be very memorable for the wrong reasons. You just go, wow, that performance is weird. Everybody in this movie was weird. Why did this movie exist? Oh. Supposedly the sequel was better, but once again, never. The problem with DC movies for me is that's all under, you know, Warner Bros. And HBO, and I'm like, I refuse to buy HBO Max currently. I'm currently upset at them. I will probably cave eventually because I feel like this bridge is never going to get, this gap is never going to get bridged, but, you know, we'll cross that when we come to it. Whereas with, you know, I'm on Disney Plus for obvious reasons involving space and operas. So that also gives me the side benefit that I catch up on all the Marvel stuff a couple months later if I can't get out to the theaters. Reminds me, I need to watch Moon Knight. It's all out. I was very busy over the last week. I had a lot of stuff to juggle and jostle.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
You did sneeze that time.
Yes, I did.
And I can talk about one of those.
Talk about
anything relevant to say right now? Sounds like he's dying a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
So one of the things I did finally do was I read all of Legends and Lattes.
Yay!
I wasn't sure I was going to read all of it right away, but I wanted to give it a crack. I talked about this a little in Let's Check Out Chill because I need to vamp. Ugh. Sorry, excuse me. But I kind of like, mind hacked myself into being into a good mood. I just put Kingdom Hearts music on.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what I do when I'm reading these days. Is I will put something in the background that's kind of like pretty approachable to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, I can't tell you how easy it is just to get me in a good mood and put a smile on my face. Just start playing Trevor. The only thing slightly distracting is occasionally I will just instinctively start following the beat, humming along, but it works. And when some of the music fits very well because the book itself is very comfy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice slice of life. I was thinking about this, and you talked about this a little, I think, a couple of weeks ago at this point. Yeah, because that's around when I got around to ordering it. By the way, slight tangent, but I think my print copy was print on demand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it says it was made on like April 30th in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I think that's got to be print on demand.
That's pretty cool.
So that's neat. That's honestly kind of personalized. I kind of like that it says in the back, hey, by the way, this was printed on this date. And I'm like, ooh, neat. I think that's about when I ordered it. But yeah, so the book itself is very comfy. I think the best way to describe it is basically take your fairly standard, modern fantasy setting. I don't want to necessarily say high fantasy. It's not like everybody's slinging spells or whatever, but there's gnomes to make weird shit. There's a lot of extra races, and stuff going on. And everybody seems pretty casual at everything. So it's your standard, modern fantasy take. You wouldn't find it out of place in like a World of Warcraft or anything else in those veins. But it's like you described it before, very just slice of life. Like it's like a slice of life, anime or light novel, though it's a full size novel. It's like 300 pages. Still pretty easy to eat for an evening. Very light. But that's what it is. It is comfy. They talk about, the tagline is the low stakes. It is kind of that way. Like obviously there's, the Act 2 darkest moment still, but even then you don't really like it's all about like interpersonal stakes. You don't really feel like anybody's in serious danger. Like I don't think anybody's going to like die or anything. It's just kind of like, oh, this is kind of sad. The business may fail after all. That's the the gist of it a couple of times. But the author is a master of pacing because it's just like you get those moments, those beats, blah blah blah. Where it's either your tension is ratcheting up, or we're down, tension is low because we feel bad. Like for instance on the first day they open and nobody fucking shows up and everything, and we go through all that and you're like, and then it's immediately like, nope, got it, moving on. We got a solution. We'll offer free samples. Cool. We need a snack. What's that? Our best customer is a baker, and he's a genius? Cool. Great. Cinnamon rolls. What's that? We need another tension break? Hey, he made up something new. Let's give it a cute name. Thimblets. And it goes in that vein up and down. What's this? The weird college student who come here just to study and not to drink. How can we make him? He wants something cold. What do we do? What if we put our ice in the coffee? Like that, and that's basically how it goes. It's just a delightful, comfortable read because every time at the moment you are presented with a problem, the characters will go to the back room and put their hand on their chin and go, what can we do about this? And then a solution comes up. We're fucking hot and sweaty and dying in here. What do we do? Well, let's call our handyman. And he's like, yes, I've heard of this gnomish invention, the auto circulator. It's a ceiling. Of course it's, but like it all works, Nothing really seems unbelievable. It just kind of, flows through. There's a plot MacGuffin in the prologue, and you always have that moment of, is it just the MacGuffin or is there something more here? And you go through the whole thing. So there's a a decent amount of character investment and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but overall, it's just a really easy, comfortable read. Once again, would heartily recommend.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad.
I wouldn't say you're not gonna chew over it very over long or anything, but it's a a nice, delightful read while it lasts, and then you can move on. I'd be interested in seeing if the author wants to do any more. Like, it doesn't beg for a sequel, but I feel like in this style there is also, you could do some more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious thing that jumps to my mind is franchising would be the next great gimmick to cover. But it's also, like I said, not necessary.
No,
there's a little bit of ambiguity in the ending, but it's fine. You still feel like you hit all the beats.
Yeah, no, that's what I feel. I feel like it's a complete story. That's what I want to say. And
it was not written to be serialized.
No.
Which is a problem with stories in a variety of mediums these days. This is clearly like, had the idea, was working on it for a while, given the very long thanks to all of his family members in the back.
Well, again,
you
like, I
go
gotta
through
say,
all the thing.
Again, this was this guy's first novel, which astounds me. Because the guy Travis Baldrell is actually an audiobook. I think this is probably like what helped him a lot. Is he's an audiobook narrator, so he's on Audible just reading out all the books. And I kind of feel like if you do enough books, you might kind of understand what it is to maybe write a little better or something, or understand how to put voice to it.
I've definitely been thinking. You got a little lightning storm going on over there.
This person's going through their tribulation. Holy shit.
Okay. Nice. Rad, they're doing a fucking DBZ power-up.
Well, it's kind of a DBZ power-up, but it's fucking, Oh, nope, I think they lost.
So was it more of a, Zuko yells at the thunderstorm, and this time the thunderstorm actually decided to smite that guy?
Yeah, pretty much.
But no, what I was saying was, I'm reminded of this for some other stuff I'm kind of going to bring up later. But
Oops.
In general, with Medium, I know there's obviously people concerned about plagiarism or whatever, but the main thing, you will always do way shittier if you fail to study other works in your medium and genre.
Yeah.
There are so many examples of this with video games. There are so many cases of games that were made by developers who were just trying to break out on the scene and actively refused to learn from others. Anthem's a great example of this. BioWare, the BioWare studio that was working on Anthem, basically refused to look at Destiny. And then they ended up, fucking up all the stuff. Similarly, I believe that Amazon's MMO that went nowhere, everybody was super hyped for it for about a weekend, probably because Amazon lined their back pockets. Sorry, I'm very jaded about video game coverage these days, y'all. But I heard about that game for a fucking week and then didn't. Because it was not good. It was not completed. There was not all the stuff they thought about because those developers didn't have any experience with MMOs and didn't learn anything. Hell, one of our favorite stories to tell is about Final Fantasy XIV and how that went through a revolutionary rebuild process. And part of the reason why that worked was because the original 14 team did not really study what was going on with Western MMOs at the time. And the funny thing is, Naoki Yoshida, Yoshi P, did, though. He actually played some MMOs like Ultima Online and stuff, from what I've heard. And when he was designing basically A Realm Reborn, he actually went to import shops to pick up Western MMOs and play them himself and distribute them to the dev staff so that they would understand the world they are in. And now, the closest ever to being a WoW killer, if there ever... Well, okay, the closest thing to being a WoW killer is a suit by the state of California. But because of that, the exodus was mostly towards 14. So you always want to learn about what you're in, and you never want to just assume you know what the fuck you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And to that vein, I think you can actually, if you just, read it all out, and you have an experience reading books of this type. And we've talked before about what kind of stuff is being, published or self-published through Audible. You can learn a thing or two and get the gripes, and clearly, he's got talent.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested in at the very least reading anything else he's written. because he's got a good style and it all flows pretty well. Amazon. If I click the offer. Yeah, just one. Can I? Yeah, sure. I'll hit follow just in case. That way, if he surprises me with another novel while I'm not looking. But okay. Legend of the Lattes, good.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Glad I sat down and read it. Like I said, I just, had some... been juggling a handful of stuff, doing our regular production cycle and more. I will say, I still, in terms of dev stuff, still haven't caught up on Skyward Sword. I was gonna last night, then I looked over at the clock and I'm like, it's 3:30 in the morning. I should, go to bed and try and relax and go to sleep. It didn't help much, but I got to bed a little bit early. Ugh. But I will probably try and do that either this evening or tomorrow afternoon. Because while we are hypothetically on track to do Delta Green, we may be delayed as one of our players, Aaron, has to wrestle with everyone's least favorite enemy, work, and schedule. So hopefully you can get that ironed out by tomorrow, but we will see. Worst comes to worst, we can always do the thing where his character couldn't make it right away, and then rep him back in later. But I don't want to do that unless we absolutely have to for some reason.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird. We do have the other part of the Sprawl that's uploaded. I'm just waiting for us to not have a busy upload day to set it out, so I'll probably be at public tomorrow on Sunday as well, if you're looking forward to that. And why wouldn't you? Sprawl, it's great. Sorry, yawn. And I do have some more stuff to say in that vein, but I'm wondering if I want to chip out some smaller first.
I'll go for it. I just realized I fucked up, so I gotta keep reloading and see if I can solve this fucking problem.
Yeah, classic. Just go. Well, I joked about it in chat a while ago, and nobody has responded since, so I guess, maybe I was right. But funnily enough, Atlus, the game developer, put out a survey in English lately, asking for community feedback and stuff. It's obviously very general, what consoles do you own, how much time do you play, how much you spend, blah blah blah. But there's a couple of interesting questions. I went through the whole thing. I posted it in our channel, but I can grab the link. Well, copy the link, tweet. You guys can check it out yourself. Because at the end of it, they ask about what franchises are you familiar with, what games you already own, blah, blah, blah. And they ask some very pressing questions about, where would you like to see and what games would you like to see in the form of a remaster or a port? The answer was yes. They had questions like, who would you recommend a Persona game to? And it has friends and family, coworkers, randos, and I'm like, yes. I would recommend Persona 2, yes. What Persona remaster do you like? Yes. If you've got a Persona game, yes. Maybe not 5, because that, you had Royal that just came out, but, everything else, yes. And the same for, ports. Obviously, I have a PS5, so I'm slightly selfish. I'm like, yes, I'd love PS5 versions of some of these games, especially P3, either fast or portable, because PlayStation Portable hell. But obviously, for ports and stuff, I wouldn't go wrong with a Switch or Steam port of some stuff. I believe Persona 4 Golden was very popular for Atlus, so There's the Q series, which was only on 3DS, and there's some other stuff. I didn't really have a lot to say about SMT. Haven't really played those games, but they asked questions about those as well. Some other stuff. Etrian Odyssey, a couple of their collabs with Vanillaware. There were some 13 Sentinels questions. So if you are interested in Atlus type games, which you probably are if you listen to us, we've yelled a lot about Persona and 13 Sentinels. You should check out the survey because this is the kind of stuff where they make business decisions. They also asked about like what kind of, Persona or SMT spin-off games you would like. Would you want to see card games or board games? Virtual, I think, still, of course. I don't think they're talking about physical merch. I mean, you should, though. It's not like it's forever,
It is
it's
very
like
long.
max
though.
45 minutes. It is a little long, but it's still, this is real-ass survey data. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fun video in it where they asked you, like, I assume it's some kind of virtual mascot for Atlus or some other game they've got, had voice clips and talked to you, and they ask you about it. It plays a little clip if you said you liked Persona 5, at least that's what I got. I'm like, okay, this is cute. This is a good idea. Like, it's very humorous and stuff. The animation was a little crude, and they asked for my honest opinion. So I was like, okay, this character design's cool. It's very colorful. Your mouth flaps could use a little work. They're very obvious because she's got like 2 or 3 mouth frames. But still, it's an interesting little survey. If you've got some time to string together, you should check it out if you're into Atlus games. I am like dead certain this is actually going to be relevant, especially as I know a lot of people have been kind of not really concerned, I guess disappointed with this year's like Persona anniversary stuff. It has mostly just been Atlus has been reposting intro cinematics for like every Persona game ever on their YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I know because I follow them, sub to that YouTube channel for obvious reasons. I think they finally had to stop because I think the last one was Strikers, so I think they've run out of Persona games to shill. So hopefully we'll get some actual news. Is there? I know E3's coming up, but is there any Tokyo or other Japanese?
I thought
shows
E3 was
coming up
canceled,
soon?
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think E3 is canceled this year. Let me check.
No, it's now it's like Jeff Keighley's
Yes, E3 date canceled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff Keighley might have that
So-
Summerfest going on, and who knows whatever.
Yeah.
Developer,
I mean, Gamescom is in August,
Yeah.
and the Tokyo Game Show itself isn't until. So yeah, all forms of E3 branding have been canceled, which it makes sense. Was it last year they tried to do one and it was abysmal, or was it the year before that? I think it was 2021.
Everyone
They tried to do like mostly digital. Nintendo obviously didn't show up. Sony didn't show up either. Xbox had a good presser, and I think that was like it. That was the one where they had fucking Gearbox on for like 30 minutes, and it was just Randy Pritchford rolled around the Borderlands movie studio and bothered actors. Which is just like, okay, I don't want to see this. I get that they're trying to make people hype for the movie, but I don't think that'll work. I don't want to say video game movies is not something we've cracked yet. Everybody's told me that Sonic the movie was pretty good, and I think the sequel was okay too, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're getting places. Nintendo's doing their classic Nintendo approach to the Mario movie they're doing. They've delayed it. Presumably to give themselves more time to work on everything. But, meh. I don't know. Just the way they cast the Borderlands movie made me like immediately like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. Like, no offense to Kevin Hart,
Mm-hmm.
I do not think he is a good match for Roland. Roland is a big tough guy who wasn't necessarily like the comedic relief. He was always the straight man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird choices like that, and I'm just like, okay, all right, well, we'll see what happens. When the fuck is that supposed to come out? Who knows? But yeah, so the Atlus survey I thought was pretty interesting, asking, I'm definitely like, they got stuff. They got product. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
I like I said, I would love an opportunity to get access to Persona 3 again in that format, and the portable stuff I never got a chance to. That's what got me into the series. Also, graphically, like Persona 1 and 2 are ancient. I'm not even sure what platforms those are available on right now. Also, this is pretty relevant. Just remembered, I believe the 3DS shop is closing soon, so there's a lot of games that are going to be exiled forever. Just like how I believe there is no modern console where you can play the first 4 Metal Gear Solid games.
Whew.
Currently. Because 4 got delisted from PlayStation Now for the time being. I have to assume Sony has got to be like behind closed doors with baseball bats trying to get that like on PlayStation Plus somehow.
Oh yeah,
like one of the service levels, because that I feel like Metal Gear Solid was always like a heavy investment from Sony on the PlayStation. So far that like when Kojima left, Sony was right there to bankroll his next IP as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
I assume they probably got to be pretty agita about that, but it's true, Konami couldn't be bothered to refresh some of the like stock footage licensing on some of the older games, which is always the stupidest. Whatever. So yeah, it's kind of weird and freaky, and I would love to see all that stuff again.
Mm-hmm. Try this method.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: I wouldn't mind a proper overhaul to Persona 3 because like it's funny that the systems aren't that different, but so much work was done in like 4 and 5 to improve on like the basic gameplay and balancing and shit. And there's a lot of stuff that like 3 doesn't have. Did they add it so you could actually control partners in portable? Because even in FES, that wasn't FES, that wasn't a actual edit. Everybody was AI. You could like set them to different performances, and so you could pray Mitsuru didn't just do Marin Karin over and over again. But it was not perfect.
No, it was not. I remember
that. We also didn't have any form of like third tier personas for the rest of the party members. Shit like that. There's probably also some other minor balancing issues. There's some stuff that could be done to clean that out. I don't know if there's any like structural issues with P3, but definitely could use, up-res graphics and clean up some of the mechanical systems a little. Yes, Loth, you are seeing it.
Yes, you are seeing Amazing Cultivation Simulator.
So, speaking of delays, though, I have another really quick one that thing. Some of you may have remembered hearing about this already. Starfield has been delayed. Shocking nobody. Yeah, just because I'll say this. I'm not like Starfield deserves to fail. Xbox gives it like I'm not gonna be like that. I do find it deeply funny and also sad every single time there was a piece of Starfield news over the past couple of months. It was a piece of concept art, and there were literally 2 tweets about it. One was, this game doesn't exist. It's just showing concept art. It's supposed to come out at the end of this year. And then whatever we call Xbox fanatics being, literal no thought, head empty. Just like, well, this concept art's so cool. This game's going to be so great when it came out. It's a game of the year. Well, guess what? No, it's not. Not coming out this year. I'm pretty sure that unless God of War for sure comes out plenty of time before the year ends, I'm pretty sure Elden Ring has basically locked itself in as game of the year at this point.
Oh, probably. Even if God of War comes out, I'm pretty sure it's going to take it.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some competition if God of War is actually coming out early enough. I'm wondering if it will, though, because while Santa Monica Studios says they are so far on track to do this year, I'm wondering if it's going to be like a Cyberpunk 2077 situation where they end up like delaying it maybe an extra couple of weeks so that it's after like the Video Game Awards cutoff and stuff, after award season.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. That would be a little sad because that probably means it might miss out on some awards, but we'll see how it happens. I am sure that if God of War does actually release this year, God of War Ragnarok will be a contender for Game of the Year. I'm not going to say for sure it would beat Elden Ring. That game is kind of a phenomenon still. I do not know if any other titles that are supposed to come out this year will shake it up. I mean, like, Forspoken seems pretty cool, but it might be a little niche. I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy 16 is not coming out this year.
Nah, it's probably sometime, like, if I want to say, I'd probably want to say it's early next year.
Yeah. I would believe that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's no game that, like, there's games that I enjoyed this year for sure, but I don't think they leap out. Like, I don't think Horizon is like Game of the Year winning material anyway. I could see it being nominated. When did Endwalker actually come out?
Oh,
late last year in the award cycle.
It was late last year. No, it's already won. I think it's already won awards. So I'm pretty sure it's already gotten its
I mean, like, Loth, you joke about that. I had that thought that crossed my mind because obviously, 14 very popular, Endwalker very popular. But no, that already happened, and I think it already won some awards. Like, I mean, 14 is probably going to have a very good shot at winning Best Ongoing Game again this year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I was not at all shocked when Starfield was delayed because I am doing the smart thing, which is I am not assuming that a game, especially a game by Bethesda, will be the second coming of Jesus Christ. There was some coverage about this that pissed me off a little bit. I think it was Jason Schreier who said that there were some insiders he heard from who were explicitly using the comparison they wanted to avoid another Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
Which, first of all, if somebody at Bethesda said that, fuck you. You know what your big fuck up was that everybody should never forget about, and I will now officially not shut up about. It's called Fallout 76. Remember when you had a launch that you bungled? How many copies of that game did that move after all? But
okay,
yeah, there's a lot. I mean, technically, I think Battlefield 2042 was a little bit bigger of a blowout. That's a game that was like very poorly received and has a very small, like almost no ongoing player base. I guess it just wasn't publicized enough. Like I said, I'm also a little bit cynical again about coverage. CD Projekt Red is technically like an independent studio. They're foreign. I'm sure they weren't necessarily like buying out a lot of news outlets to do coverage. Whereas, EA has a shitload of money to throw at press coverage. Or alternatively, because it was EA, nobody had any expectations about Battlefield, and thus it was not a big hullabaloo. That said, I do like... If we're going to turn Cyberpunk into the scapegoat of bad game releases, fuck you. Like, it's... Listen, I'll say this. Lucky and I think, have always been very strong Cyberpunk stans. We really liked the game, even when it launched. But I think the number we both settled at, if I'm remembering rightly from our initial reviews, was it's about 80% of a great game.
Oh, yeah.
So even though we really like it, we know it's not perfect. I would say after the latest updates, it's probably 85% of a great game. Still got a little bit of work to do. It's better, but not perfect either. But we were also we pre-ordered the game, did all that stuff for literal years. Lucky and I were both saying, do not assume this game is going to cure cancer or, raise the dead or whatever the fuck you think it's going to do.
Yeah.
Because people were treating it like that, and they shouldn't have, because no video game is going to be that good. I don't even think Elden Ring was that perfect. Like, there are plenty of people who don't like to play Soulsborns. And like all the games in its series, there were still issues. I believe some of the ports had terrible problems when it first launched. Was it really jank on PC or was it PS4? I remember some people in our community complaining about performance issues. There was, as is always with these games, there were plenty of issues with exploits and PvP weirdness. That game, we've just said, Elden Ring's probably going to take Game of the Year this year, even though we're only 5 months in, just because I don't think there's anybody, gonna knock it out of the park yet.
No.
That game was not curing cancer and was a universal game you needed to play. Well, it's an open world game, Max, so that's to be expected. We talked about at length about Horizon. You know, that game was good, but had some of its own problems with, like, you know, pacing and the way, you know, crafting and stuff was handled. So, you know, no game is ever going to be that good. Starfield was definitely not going to be that good. And if you thought Starfield was going to be that good, what are you smoking? I want some of it because it's Bethesda. Guys, I love Skyrim. I have bought Skyrim multiple times. Skyrim is a fucking mess. It's horrifying. If you've never, you know, driven a horse 90 degrees vertical up a mountainside, or if you've ever, you know, had an NPC horribly misspawn, all kinds of stuff, you know. If the game is fundamentally good, obviously it doesn't matter, you know. Walt just brought up KOTOR 2, great example. I never got around to playing it because I heard how jank it was, but a lot of people really like that game, and I know there's been patches to, like, fix it. Vampire the Masquerade, which I have played a little bit of, very infamous for being super fucking broken, but people loved it so much that there are fan-made patches which make it workable, you know? Like, the people will stick around if the game is fundamentally good. I think Cyberpunk has that. Like, enough people have played it and actually, like, seen it to realize, oh no, there's a pretty good game in here somewhere. You know, it might not be for everyone, but there's a decent core to what we're expecting in here. And I suspect, you know, Starfield will probably be the same. Hey, I mean, you know, the delay probably gives me even more time, though I probably need to solve out my graphical issues before then. But, you know, even more time to figure out to get a better quality PC. Do I need to just buy more RAM and a GPU? Should I buy a quote-unquote cheap gaming PC and just run it separately? Then I don't have enough monitors, though. I don't know if I got space for more monitors. Stuff I need to consider. But, like, it's still just, it's very funny to like, see all this, like, I mean, it's true on both sides. There's plenty of people who were like, God of War is going to destroy Xbox. And I'm like, eh. I mean, this year definitely it will because Xbox doesn't have any games. But I don't think of God of War as like, who is going to be the Xbox killer. Because that's not how it works, and you should not design games like that. Right. Listen, I actually like Killzone. I also actually like Halo. And if you want me to compare the two, they're both pretty good. I feel like some of the gunplay and some of the Halo games are probably better, but that's just because Bungie are amazing at this. They've been making FPS games for decades. You know, Destiny and Destiny 2 are the same way. The gameplay is just that good. Destiny, by the way, and Destiny 2, I believe, were also both games with, like, really weird launches and, like, out-of-balance shit that are... While they do not necessarily generate constant hype, they have a very dedicated player base involved in all that stuff. So, you know, there's a lot of room there. But, yeah, some of the... Like I said, the fact that there apparently are Starfield devs behind closed doors being like, we didn't want a Cyberpunk 2077 situation, I'm kind of like, all right. Okay. No need to be mean. I know they fucked up, but, like, there is... You should have already learned that lesson, Starfield guys. Again, Bethesda. But I guess that's part of Bethesda's charm, is they don't learn that lesson. But
Is it a bug or a feature?
It depends. Are you asking Pete Hines or Todd Howard? Feature. God, Fallout 76 is such a... I mean, I know they were chasing the dragon. They were trying to make a battle royale, but, like, my God, I still remember that press conference, and I was so like, what the fuck? It just works. Yeah. I mean, I just don't trust anything that Todd Howard says. Sometimes that means I'm pleasantly surprised when he's like, Skyrim on refrigerators, and I'm just like, you for realsies right now, Todd? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, the meme is complete. You can play Skyrim on literally anything. But, yeah. But I think that's a good transition to something else I've put a few hours into this week. Somebody mentioned it above. I have, in fact, been playing some No Man's Sky.
Sick.
Yeah, so my disc works fine. Perfectly fine. I don't think it mattered. I think my PS5 just needed to know I had a disc because I downloaded the free upgrade to the PS5 version anyway. So I'm pretty sure the disc data isn't important. It's just a token that Sony is like, all right, you own this game. Cool.
Ta-da!
But it was cheaper. Yeah, so I've been playing a little. I don't, this is just, I'm in the raw, right? I never experienced how weird it was in the opener. It's pretty all right. I will say, I had some rough and tumble at the start. I literally died my first playthrough.
Dead.
First planet. Because I spawned on a horrifically irradiated world that did not have a lot of sodium plants to refuel my radiation shielding. So I just slowly died to death because the game starts you with a broken resource scanner that you have to fix, and then you have to scan, and the scanner recharges. There's some balancing questions that I'm just like, what? You've been developing this game for like 10 years at this point. Why is it like this? Like, I kind of understand why the procedural generation algorithm doesn't necessarily give you softball planets to start in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of don't know why, because the quote-unquote plot, the, like, tutorial guiding you to do stuff in the game, like, literally in, like, 10 minutes you leave that fucking planet, but, you do want a sense of pressure, a sense of challenge immediately. I've had this thought on my own with trying to, like, replicate this genre in tabletop form, so I get that. It's still a little weird to me, like, I feel like I've been playing this game for, like, because I had to, do my upgrade to PS5, start a new world, because I was just like, all right, I'm not fucking with that radiation planet. I still got a radiation planet on my actual starting game, but I was able to, like, get a handle on the sodium a lot easier and get in there. There's still some things that it feels like I'm, like, playing, like I said, I've been playing for, like, 3 hours. I'm still basically in, like, softball tutorial. I cannot, fully go down, like, the tech tree to learn more stuff. I feel like my inventory space is getting full a lot. There's a lot of shit I can access that I can't do anything with yet, which is kind of annoying. Like, you on your very first planet where you're literally, your goal is you wake up with no memories, your scanner's fucking broken, and you just have to build your most basic tools besides the mining laser. And I guess your environmental shields, which thankfully you start with. All right, see you later, Loft.
Bye.
But, like, and you leave right away, but you can still find, like, here's some shit you can sell later. Well, I'm pretty sure, like I said, like 2 or 3 hours after that, I finally, like, before I paused so I could, jump on here to record, I think I finally found, like, a space station the tutorial led me to where I can probably sell some of this shit, and I'm just like, I was just sucking up space in my inventory for, like, 3 hours for no reason. It's a little weird still. Sometimes the controls are a little clunky. I kind of wish I could adjust the controls. You can't do that, unfortunately. The game's too old for that, I suspect. Because we've got the scan button is on your running analog stick, and your sprinting is on your looking analog stick. And I'm just like, I really wish you swap those. It should be left to sprint, right to scan, because I am constantly scanning, which, again, has a cooldown. I am constantly accidentally scanning when I just want to haul ass. So, like, it's still not, like, the smoothest playing game in the world, but I can understand how easily, if you wanted to, you could sink hours into it, and I probably will, It's just, it's got a great, like, ambient space soundtrack, and it has all the kind of stuff you'd expect from this game still, and it is, like, very relaxing. You get to scan everything, different minerals. Everything has, like, little tidbits about, like, this mineral is formed by animal fossilization.
Sick.
And, like, all these little notes, you get to, like, look at random animals with, like, behavioral traits. The procedural generation of the animals is very funny and alien. I have run into all kinds of weird things. Things that look like, velociraptors with fungus on their shoulders. Something that looked like a bipedal armadillo with gorilla arms. Like, all kinds of weird shit. I love it. And if you want, you can name all this stuff. You can rename things. I have currently spawned in the incubi system. I did not pick that name. That's what it started with. So that's pretty funny. You can, rename and upload everything for credits and stuff. I mostly just keep with the randomly generated names, but if I come up with a funny name for something, like I think in that initial playthrough on the radiation planet, I found like an armadillo type thing, but it was radioactive, so I'm like Ratadillo.
Yeah,
because you can just fully edit. So it's you can rename planets, bases, and stuff like that. So everything's like obviously procedurally generated and randomized, but you can feel a sense of ownership. It's kind of cool, and just a great incentive to just looking around randomly at things and being like, "Ooh, what's this rock?" And you do get a bonus for scanning that lets you know what the secondary materials are, so you can find stuff. Shockingly, stuff like radon gas and uranium is very common on radiated planets. But on other worlds, you can ferrous dust, cobalt, that. I'm currently we're operating on. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I was currently operating. The game made me build my first base on a arid planet. A parched world was the modifier they called it, which is a desert planet. So it's very warm during the day and very cold at night, and occasionally we have what the game calls firestorms. Really, it just seems like a very hot sandstorm. I don't actually see any fire, which is probably good because the first shelter the game teaches you is made out of timbers. That was weird. It's fine. It's cool in there, I guess. I do also like the second upgrade you get for your actual like interacting with the world is the mining laser, so you can bore tunnels through the ground. And if you do that, you usually cool off pretty cool. And I'm like, that's neat. Bore underground, find minerals, caves, shit like that. So like, there's definitely a lot to this game, and I have been enjoying it despite the occasionally just being like, all right, what the fuck? Kinda wish you could like multi-craft. Usually you have to like individually and then stack everything together. But it's flowing okay. I think my only real complaint is the game is normally third person when you're on the ground. It's first person in your ship, which you have to like where your ship is landed actually matters because it has its own storage and you can't like magically use stuff out of ship storage unless you're close enough to like the refiner or reactor or whatever you're trying to put crap in.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually need to kind of like land in exact spaces. Landing precisely is very hard because you cannot look down. Even in free look, that's just first person free look. I guess I could like attempt to like pull the parking brake and flip completely upside down and like look up. I feel like I'm just gonna crash into the ground and eat shit that way. I really don't want to do that. So like that kind of like triggers my anxiety when I'm like, I'd really like to park closer, but I also don't want to park at like a weird angle or on top of any of my crap. Why can't I just look straight down? But when you're making those little complaints, you know that the game has not actually got that many problems. We'll see, if I get any weirdness exploring. I'm just, having fun hoofing it, looking at weird animals and like building stuff and trying to get a grasp for like what materials go into what. I kind of hope there's a little bit of automation at some point with some of this stuff because it does get kind of annoying that I have to like keep mowing down plants with my laser so I can keep getting more carbon because I need carbon to make carbon nanotubes. I need carbon to make walls of wood. I need carbon to refill my mining laser. Or my mining laser so I can get more mining beam out of it. But all in all, seems pretty balanced. I'm having fun. Like I said, it may or may not be going back to that after that, or like I said, I could play Legend of Zelda. I don't know.
I got nothing. I'm still trying to solve this problem. Because if this person turns into a giant scary bear, everyone dies.
Yeah. That sounds bad. And so that is actually the problem. You have somebody who transforms into a bear.
Yeah.
That does sound like an issue. Okay, well, I'll just run down my list then. Speaking while Lucky keeps attempting to solve his bear problem.
Bear problem.
Bear hand.
Alright, so I gotta wait for night.
Very dangerous.
I think.
I'm out of bear puns. Sweaty. Well, another small one then. Something else I've been doing this week Sorry, I was slightly off center because I was drinking water. Outside is warm. 80 degrees outside. Clock at night. That sweet, sweet sundown. But something else I was doing was, it's unrelated, so I won't really get into how, but I stumbled across an interesting subreddit called R Hobby Drama.
Hobby drama.
Yeah, now you'd think that would just be like really cringy and annoying. But it's very interesting because there's like obviously like quote unquote drama stuff and like actually discussing, in various hobbies and fandoms. But there's also a lot of history work, which they actually talk about as well. And some of the people on here are writing like really deep analyses. And one of the things I got really sucked into was one of the people on this site wrote an amazing series of entries that are like nested multiple posts deep about basically the entire history of World of Warcraft up until now. Like from, beta and vanilla all the way until their latest expansion, Shadowlands, and how that was not well received. Situation Blizzard finds itself in now. There is actually in the last part, a decent summary of, the incredibly Cliff Notes version, but of Final Fantasy XIV's own story and kind of like how they've been on like different arcs from WoW.
Yeah.
But it's, I think they clocked it in on the last entry. It's over 100,000 words. Apparently somebody was trying to compile it into an ebook format. But yeah, I was just amazingly sucked into this long history. And it's like 11 parts. I was reading it for the better part of a week, but it's really well written. So you can track that down. I can also probably, marks. Yeah, I think I got that. But it's just like, it's really long, obviously, but it was a fascinating read, absolutely, to kind of see like how WoW became like, it started as this, iconic thing, and a lot of its drama was related to like, what people were doing on WoW, raids, exploits, all that other stuff. And then kind of like slowly turned into, it kind of feels like Blizzard not knowing what the fuck to do with WoW anymore. Running into issues with writing characters and expansion storylines, having issues with systems. It's kind of funny. There is an at-length discussion about player housing in regards to WoW.
Oh, really?
Because player housing is pretty common in a lot of MMOs from what I've seen. Obviously, Lucky's had his own woes in 14.
Yes, I have.
And there is, and you discussed why, there is some content that is locked behind owning a house, right? But it's, would you say it's mostly optional?
Yeah, it's optional.
Like, it's not essential?
No, it's not.
How much of a mechanical impact on, like, how good with a U are you at the game if you can play that extra content, Like, does it give you sick bonuses for raids?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a higher tier of buffs, but none of them are related to actual doing damage. It's usually like you can either get higher XP, like it's like, because the bonuses then go 5, 10, 15, you can get like more cash, more experience, more of like a certain bonus for crafting or gathering. Nothing in battle.
It seems like it's kind of like it's a fun reward for investing your time so much to get a house. You get to, cut down a little bit of other grinds.
Yeah.
Well, in some of WoW's forays, apparently, at least according to like this history, Blizzard has a little bit of a problem with not tying anything they do to some kind of mechanical reward. So their forays into, was it Garrisons, I think it was called, which were all like instance and separate. So everybody would go to the same zone to build their garrisons, but nobody was there unless you like brought a party of your friends, which is also kind of like weird. It's not like they were housing neighborhoods in big cities where you could like walk by, right? But the reason why you would go through all this crazy grind stuff on the housing and the garrisons was so you could get like tiny little modifiers to, general gameplay stuff that didn't matter. And I've heard that discussed about WoW subsystems a lot throughout this narrative. That seems like a thing that happens a lot where Blizzard is just like, fuck, we need to give you some kind of reward. What will we do? You can do 2% more damage. And like everybody is like, I don't give a fuck. Or alternative, they're like 2% more damage. This is literally the only option I will take. All other options are useless. I will pick the most efficient option, which obviously humans optimize. That's very common for us. But it's like, how could you not see that coming? You've been making WoW for like 20 years? When did WoW come out, actually? When was vanilla? 2004. I was close. 18 years, and you don't know that your fucking player base is gonna go online and literally find the most optimal option. So yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like I said, I've been on the sidelines of a couple of Lucky and the rest of the guys' discussions with 14. And there are certainly a lot of ex-WoW addicts who have switched to 14 in the comments of this thread. But it was kind of interesting to like do this whole top-down analysis of a game from start to current. I would not technically say that WoW is finished. I mean, I am dead certain that Microsoft will probably be trying to make Activision Blizzard do some profitable moves so they can recoup their giant fucking investment. Yeah, that's true. There was another quote that MMO development takes like 5+ years. So, yes, the Blood Plague was mentioned, and several other errors like that. Yeah, like I said, if you got the time, you should at least like skim the titles or talk about it. Like I said, there's a lot of interesting stuff where there's these apexes of various drames and things. I believe Lucky is not a bear problem.
No, I have to go back to a super earlier save because I got to really work on getting this person. Really got to work on getting this person up. I'm like, God damn it. Okay.
Rip to the big one.
Alright. So I have not built everything I fucking needed to build yet. Do I have? I do not.
But yeah, it's like I said, just a fascinating read, literal novel length. I think somebody also talked about, I saw in the comments that somebody was planning on like narrating it in podcast format or something. Really cool. It's basically like a history info dump, and I love those. So it's always fun to get into some of that stuff. So check it out if you got the time. Sorry, big yawn.
Okay, so now I gotta get back to building to what I was doing before. Okay. So now I just gotta remember what I was doing. Ah, yes. Harvest everything in that area.
Another yawn. I was being a little quiet there. I was skimming something, but it's a little more in depth. I always recommend an article about one of Jupiter's moons, Amalthea, and I'm, neat. What you got to say about this? Oh no, I'll read this later.
Now I actually have to.
So I don't know if you obviously stuff might be a little distracted. But I was remembering yesterday you talked about how you wanted to get into some more conversation ad stuff.
Oh yeah,
because we all have our own unique experiences with that you get an opportunity because you had to step away.
Yes.
Before we were recording Sec FGO. So if you want to fire in, I've been talking quite a lot.
Unfortunately, I don't have much to say, and let me think here. So, yesterday in the Let's Talk FGO pre-show, me and Omega got to talking. I don't remember why. I was pretty sure I went to go look for a video in the moment so I could be like, look at video. And then I couldn't watch it because there was like 4 ads of like varying sizes from like 15 seconds to like a minute. And I'm like, guys, I literally care about nothing about this. You are not getting me to worry about my fucking energy consumption here right now. No, this ain't working. Why do you do this? Like, give me like 4 15-second ads. Call it good. Nothing. Don't even like just like 30 seconds. Like if it takes more than 30 seconds, I'm fucking gone. Like total.
Yeah, the usual skip timer is 5 seconds, but 15 to 30 seconds that works. Some commercials, on TV were like it, but I feel like there's this interesting dichotomy, right? Because I feel like the thing I run into the most, and I talked about this in the pre-show. The most problem I have is I do have an ad blocker on my PC, and it also blocks a lot of other stuff because the internet's full of gremlins. But on my my PS5, obviously you don't get an ad blocker on that, and because that's my TV, I do a decent amount of YouTube watching there. Same with your phone. So what I see a lot, what I usually get is these days I get exactly 2 ads every ad break, and they are 6 seconds, so you can't skip them. And very often they are the same ones. And that's not the worst. You can work around that. If they're like two unskippable ads and like one of them's 15 seconds, I'm like, fuck you, I'm resetting. I will literally stand here longer than it takes me to finish this ad and fucking gotcha the ad system, then deal with this.
Yeah, no, I'm...
Which I admit, probably not standard consumer behavior, but that's my consumer behavior.
Yeah, no, because like, here's the thing, like, when you're putting on ads, like I really want to understand YouTube's AdSense and how they serve ad and how long, because if I'm just trying to watch like a 2.5 minute fucking music video, why the fuck am I seeing an ad that's like 3 minutes by itself? Like, your ads are longer than the fucking the content that you're serving to me right here, and that's not okay. It's really not.
Yeah, that's just, nobody's gonna be down for that. Like, it's just, I'm literally just trying to watch some random music video because I thought of a song or remembered something. Why are you giving me a giant ad? Oh yeah, I mean, so I will say I don't think this is universally like Google AdSense's fault. Because like they're a business, they just take money to play ads. So what people will pay money to get classified as an ad is very weird sometimes. I'm pretty sure I have seen like entire snippets of what's that one Pokemon series? I don't remember. It's like the animated shorts they do. Like I think I have seen entire like shorts played as a YouTube ad. There's that one like conservative think tank channel, what is it, PragerU, who puts up like entire hour-long podcasts as like an ad. Like, there are people who are clearly using this system for what it's not intended to, and God knows how many ads Google is like paid to run that they can't filter through like all of them. I do think like there should be a pretty simple switch you can probably flick in the back end and be like, if ad longer than video, then no play ad. Like, that seems like some pretty simple programming math you can come up with and just do that, because again, none of your customers are going to be desperate enough to do that. And I obviously, YouTube has an out. You can go to premium. And certainly like the fact that the ad situation, which by the way, I think it was last month, YouTube asked me and I was like 1 star, abysmal. They asked me about my ad experience on YouTube. I'm like, it sucks. It fucking sucks, guys. Thanks for asking. Like, I have considered going to premium, but I just think to myself, is it really that much of the time out of my day? Like, it's annoying, but it's not yet annoying or damaging enough to me that I'm like, I want to spend money so this problem goes away. Which I guess is the real crux of the issue, right? Like, YouTube, AdSense, and these people paying to get these ads played is trying to find that sweet spot. Because I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like marketing has reached such a point that I feel like either they're tone deaf or they have to understand nobody wants to see this fucking ad. Right? Like, because you don't. If I'm watching a fucking 20-minute deep dive video on the history of Vaporwave, which, by the way, didn't have a lot of ads, which was nice, but, like, hypothetically, that's a video I watched. I do not want to, every 5 minutes, be interrupted with some 15-second or 30-second unskippable ad about how if I need my auto glass replaced, I should call, what is it? I think it was SafeLight's the company. They have a really annoying, catchy jingle, which is at least, makes sense. Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace. That's good marketing. They found a jingle that works. The pacing, though, who the fuck is thinking I want to be served this ad every 30 seconds? I guess they're trying to brainwash me. They're trying to mind hack me so that when I eventually break my auto glass, sometime in the year 2050, I don't own a car, guys. That's why it's a separate thing is me complaining about how personalized ads are not personalized. But I think they're not trying to sell me on this product right now. They're trying to just put it in my head that this exists, and I should look them up. And certainly some people will be like, yes, I remember seeing an ad for this. But a decent chunk of your internet savvy consumer base is probably going to do their own research. They're going to at least make sure that they can get out there. And it's just so weird. There's so many ads, and there's so many companies that I am like, fuck you, I will literally never use your service because you only exist to annoy me. Right?
Right.
I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I definitely feel like I have a mental blacklist of all right, I've seen your ad 50 times. I'm never using this service.
Oh yeah. Cause that's interesting. That's the weird thing. Big long ads are, in my personal opinion, pointless. Because if you don't catch someone within the first few moments of making the ad, they're lost and they're not gonna fucking care. And the longer that ad goes on, the more pissed off a person's gonna get that they have to sit here and watch this.
Yeah, especially if it's unskippable.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple of things that can be a minute or two long that still work. That's only trailers.
Well, no, I think I've seen a couple ads that I've watched just because they're fucking hilarious. I can't remember the name of the product because I didn't buy it, but I once actually sat down and watched this fucking ad for a deodorant that the whole gimmick was they were just talking about, yeah, your crotch fucking stinks. And they had a bunch of gags and jokes on it, and even one time the host said, yeah, your ass will thank you, and then it just cuts away to a disembodied ass that goes, thanks, and she screamed. I was like, no, that made me chuckle.
Oh yeah, and in that case, that's just as much an ad as it is a comedy sketch.
Yeah.
That's fair to bring up. That's also another area. If your ad is actually
entertaining,
genuinely funny, that's okay. You can probably do 30 to 60 seconds. That's basically a comedy skit. Trailers also, for video games or movies or TV or whatever. Obviously, there's 5-second or 30-second sizzle reels, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's full breadth of some of the experiences, they usually come down to a couple of minutes. Okay, sure. Those are the only ads that when they're skippable in 5 seconds, I will maybe watch longer is usually a trailer because hold on, what game is this? What movie is this? Maybe I want to know this. But yeah, it's generally the ads need to be short and sweet. Honestly, there are some ads I get that are not insufferable. I don't remember the name of the website. It's like I said, it's funny how so little of this information penetrates your brain actually. Mm. I know that is an ad trying to be some kind of whatchamacallit? RV rentals. I don't know why we're trying to drive up RV rentals or sales or something. And there's a couple of variants, but the normal one I see is literally six seconds. Nobody talks. It's just a 6-second clip of some cheery synth music and some white dudes in tank tops being happy inside an RV. And going camping and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this does nothing for me. I still don't want to rent an RV because I am not the target demographic for this. But this ad is insufferable. I don't hate it. Because it's there's no talking or anything, it's just over. Well, I mean, it is technically I've possibly targeted by household, but if they're targeting by household, Google is dumb. Because I am only ever signed in as me. Technically, as this usually on YouTube as Studio Omega. And I'm signed in as myself on Chrome. So they know it's me watching, as opposed to, my parents who have, their own separate computers and, watch services and whatever. And I don't think they even watch a lot of YouTube. So, Google should be pulling no data for anybody but me. I think just, advertisers, in order to have jobs, have to assume you have a car. Because I've gotten, fake ads about, or fake calls about, spam calls about car insurance or whatever, and I'm like, ha ha, joke's on you, loser. So like, I don't know. I think that might just be part of the like weird assumption that the marketing, the field of marketing and advertising is built on, that they need to get over. Because I feel like at times, I think I've talked about this earlier, I feel like marketing hasn't actually like evolved in like the years since I've been alive. Like sometimes it has, but a lot of the ads I see for stuff are still basically the same, which is weird. Like, I guess special effects have gotten a little bit better, a little more accessible. It's what this one series of ads, what's it called? Blue Rabbit? I think there's a rabbit in the name. Because they're like, I think it's like desserts or snacks or something. They're short, so it's funny enough. They're short. It's slightly unclear what they do, but they are definitely something related to like snacks or whatever. But they have these like CGI rabbits as like their mascots, and they talk about like down here at our office, and it'll show like a 5-second shot of rabbits in tiny cubicles. They're not even a 5-second, like a half a second shot, and then it moves on. Blah blah blah. Try these twist cones. And that's got some of the funny you were talking about, right, Lucky? Like, they do this whole joke that their company is called Rabbit. They are run by rabbits or whatever. So all the rooms are tiny. So like when they talk about try our new twist cones, it's humans sitting in like a conference room that's like 2 sizes too small for them. So they're all like bent over a tiny desk. So
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's a funny image. Like, also because it's about food, I remember that one. I have not tried their foods. Oh, actually, that reminds me. Follow up from Monday stream. I did order the Skittles gummies to fill out my Walmart order and get free shipping.
Yeah,
they're okay.
They're okay.
They're gummies. They taste like Skittles.
That's a win.
I think the packaging is a little, a little slim for your. I know it's called share size, but it's still like a little light. Like it's still, only a couple of days probably of like, I'll take a pinch of a couple. Take a small handful. But, they were gummies and they tasted okay. But yeah, like the problem is when your ad is 15 seconds, it's unskippable, and it's about something I do not give a fuck about. That allegedly, anyway, Google should know I don't give a fuck about. If Google is like listening to my microphone, I do not own a car. I have never like looked up car shit like directly. I mean, I've looked up terminology, but if that got me in trouble, my Wikipedia history would, God knows what that would should actually be advertised to me, because of how much research I do for writing.
Well, honestly, you're probably fucked regardless, because you just said car, and that's all Google probably heard.
Possibly. I've heard that like the sensitivity on those things is actually supposed to be pretty good. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, speech recognition softwares that are actually like data mining and stuff are fairly decent. Also, it's funny, Google probably doesn't have to be listening to my actual microphone when I say that, because we should remember we are streaming live to YouTube, right? Which also has a fairly decent voice recognition system. If you've ever wanted it to do automated subtitles, I think the pacing is weird, but it's pretty decent at picking out words. This is how YouTube usually catches it when you cuss so much, everybody. It's not like somebody reports it. YouTube senses the F word and, gets on your case. If it matters or not. It might not. It reminds me, though, of the thing I was talking about myself in there. And audience at home, consider doing this with me. I have strongly considered at times when I've just been so bamboozled by the advertising. I'm like, I swear one of these days I'm going to start keeping like a dream diary of ads. I'm just going to get a piece of note paper, and I'm going to jot down every time I see an ad and what it's about, and then just check mark every time I see it. Because I feel like when I'm doing like a single like watch of something, like say I'm watching a longer video, like a Let's Play or a Stream Archive, right? Mm-hmm. Or a podcast, God forbid. I feel like, first of all, YouTube, I know this for a fact, YouTube by default slants its ads to be more frequent in the beginning, less frequent at the end. I go in and manually set our monetization on, I think, every video. I try to remember to do it anyway, and spread that out more evenly. I think we technically serve less ads, and I'm kind of tempted to leave it on default to see just what it does for our ad revenue numbers. But also, I feel like our audience would probably want to die.
Probably.
Because, especially with some of our shows being shorter lately. But in the first 30 minutes, you can get served 15 ads. And I know YouTube says putting an ad marker there does not guarantee you serve an ad, but I feel like YouTube usually, because I have gotten intro ads for clicking a video and then immediately gotten ad in 5 seconds. Like, it's brutal. But I also feel like when I'm on those tears of seeing ads, I will see the same fucking ads like 5 times. And in some cases, I suspect this is probably part of the marketing. Like I said, they're trying to like drill into those deep structures and get you to remember those ads. And certainly some of the ads I've used as examples, I probably remember just because I'm really fucking tired of seeing them. But at the same time, I know that some of those ads are new, and like I don't remember what ads I saw for sure like a month ago. Whatever that batch of ads was gone. It's not spread out. So I don't know if that's like, all the ads I'm seeing are just who's buying new ads lately, and YouTube percolates those to the top and then fade out. I don't know. Interesting question. I would probably go trolling for random ads, but first of all, I'm on my PC, I get my ad blocker, and I'm recording the audio of this, so the people listening to the audio version bombarded by random audio. So we won't.
Yeah, but like I said, I honestly don't necessarily understand ads nowadays. For me, if I want to know about something, like usually I don't wait for someone to tell me about it. I usually go look for it myself. Yeah. I think like I don't wait for commercials about a video game to come out, because usually I'm paying attention to video game outlets tell me, yeah, this is coming out like sometime. I pay attention to press releases and stuff. And at that point,
and I mean, obviously, sometimes you forget stuff, and you can get mentioned on things.
Yeah,
that does help sometimes, but it's not a guarantee. But your thinking is probably a little bit like earlier with like auto glass repair or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you would not see an ad for auto glass repair and be like, "Hey, I need to fix my windshield. I'm going to call those guys." You would probably be like, "Oh shit, my windshield's broken." Start researching who can do this cheapest and the fastest. Fuck me over.
Yeah, because that's not what I'm going to worry about. I'm not going to remember the ad that I saw. I'm going to go be like now I'm going to go pull my greatest uncle impression and be like, all right, now it's time for research.
Yeah, and I will say, at least personally, and I suspect that these people who are probably of the, media savvy YouTube watching generation. Obviously, I feel like a lot of us who, a lot of people across the millennial generation have an interesting relationship with commercials.
Mm-hmm.
They were everywhere when we were a kid. Some of them were literally the shows we were watching. But at the same time, at some point, you probably learned that commercials are fake. Mm-hmm. I remember my experience very distinctly. My parents were not always like, you shouldn't believe everything you see in commercials. They said that, but also they let me kind of like challenge that assumption. I remember one time I really wanted to get Cookie Crisp cereal because the commercials make it look like you're literally eating cookie. And I got the cereal. Crummy. They're like little pucks of chocolate puff rice with like tiny chocolate chips in them. It's like, this isn't nearly as fun. You made it sound. And that's the one that really sticks to me to this day. I was probably like 7 or 8 when that particular experiment happened. Okay, I've learned now that commercials are not necessarily true. And I suspect a lot of people in our audience probably have, similar relationships. You saw a toy or a game or a show or food or something, and you were like, hold on a minute. That's not like that. Toy commercial. Thankfully, I don't see any of them. But I'm just reminded of all the fucking whiz-bangs and setup and blah, blah, blah. Like fucking Hot Wheels commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those. Look at this cool set. It does all these cool tricks.
Yeah, it just does this one thing over and over again.
Do the cool loop jump. Yeah, but I bet in a non-stage environment, you don't always do the cool loop jump.
No, sometimes it just goes flying off the fucking edge.
There's a lot more to everything than the perfectly staged shot in the studio. And it's cynical to say, but there's definitely some level of that where you're like, you eventually realize, right, TV is fake. Those people can do that shot as many times as they want. Food you see in commercials, all fake. Staged.
It's like
Probably
it's
not
super
even
fake.
edible.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's usually sometimes made out of inedible stuff.
I think I read an article about that in Kids National Geographic Kids.
The one that always
Yes,
stuck.
I read magazines as a child. They were educational. But like, you know, a lot of food you see is just cardboard. Yeah, ice cream is often dyed mashed potato shape. Sauces and stuff are like non-consumable liquids that like look good on camera. It's all an elaborate lie, and some stuff is good. You know, you shouldn't doubt like literally everything you hear, but it's definitely when you know you're watching something that is produced by somebody for a purpose, you need to be aware of why it was produced.
That just always reminds me of this Domino's commercials I saw once. Because pizza is another one of those things where they actually use a bunch of weird shit, and I remember, like, I thought this was actually pretty cool of it. Domino's was actually making a commercial about making a commercial, so they were showing all the fucking weird shit they were doing to the pizza to make it look good. And the maker was just all like, fuck that commercial, and just took a picture of his regular-ass pizza and showed it. I was like, that was pretty sick. I was like, I like that, but... Again,
yeah, that's that kind of, like, modern self-awareness shit that's usually like, oh, I see, you understand. That's cool. You know, you're aware, and people usually like that kind of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, so that it stays perfectly in shape.
It's so weird.
I mean, you know, it's all just movie magic, really. You know, because it's trying to, like, communicate something to the screen. It's funny because a movie is just trying to, or TV show is just trying to make you believe, right, like what you're seeing on screen, be immersed in the world. Commercials are trying to make you believe something you see in the world and then purchase it. Which, admittedly, for food is always a weird sell because, like, if it is a fake appearance, the people who buy it are gonna see the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now sometimes it doesn't matter because obviously food is not purely visual. You know, even if that bloomin' onion you see on TV for Outback Steakhouse is fake, you go and actually eat a bloomin' onion. Usually pretty tasty.
It's like, it's alright.
You know, it's a fried onion. It's like an onion ring, but less ring-shaped.
More flower-shaped.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, obviously, you know, if the food actually tastes good for whatever reason, whatever dark sorcery they put in it that way, that's a different question for a different time. It works out. But if it don't taste good and look good, then it's just like, whatever. Fast food is kind of like that sometimes, where, you know, they always try to make, like, a fast food burger or sandwich look, like, super mega delicious. Just like, it probably is tasty, but, I mean, you're not going to convince me it's, like, some kind of divine revelation. Just because you put a lot of MSG in it, so my tongue tells me it's good, doesn't mean that, you know, I don't acknowledge that you're trying to, you know, bamboozle me here. And of course, you know, there's also always the problem with, like, lower budget ads. Like, how many ads have you seen with people who shouldn't be on ads, you know, testimonials and stuff, where, unfortunately, probably because these people are just trying to live their lives and have been stuck in a studio for their first time ever on TV, they just have no screen presence.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the effort put into attempting to make testimonials work, but it's still, like, usually pretty weird. Oh, that's another way. Google sends me college ads a lot. Fuck you, I'm not going back to school. But, like, some of the poor unfortunate souls they get for these college ads, I'm just like, oh, well, you're not exactly selling this school, but, you know, A for effort, I guess. Oh, I just caught this in chat. Yes, I do remember when cereal companies used to bribe us with toys. And also cereal boxes were bigger. They cost the same, but they were bigger.
This is why I like the general brands. Just give me bag cereal. Just big old bag. Tastes the same and costs half the price.
Yeah, that's another weird thing about advertising. Well, I guess general advertising, not usually in like ads you see played, but the whole like brand recognition thing is very weird and silly. You know, like the stuff Lucky Charms is made from, and you know, your store brand Lucky Charms, which are called something else. The ingredients are roughly the same.
Yes, they are.
I do actually think in some cases the circus, peanuts, the marshmallows, they do actually have different shapes in a lot of the off-brand because Lucky Charms' marketing is very heavily invested in the specific shapes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they added. What was the one they added? Was it Blue Moons? I think they added Blue Moons.
They've added a few.
They've added a few over the yeah.
Because that's one of the things they do. They make it limited by adding a shape and then taking it the fuck away, and then kids are like, "Oh my god, we have to get it."
The contents are still all the same. Yeah. I don't think there are that many unique cereals. I have not tasted anything that tastes quite like a peanut butter Captain Crunch, ever. But a lot of cereals are pretty replicable. Yeah, I understand if cereal's not your thing. I still have a huge sweet tooth. So a decent number of cereals. I've been interested in what's that brand? Magic Spoon, I think. They do quote unquote adult cereals with like more natural ingredients. The problem is I think they only do it in like boxed subscription models.
Oh, really?
Or you have to pay a shitload of shipping, so it's expensive, like everything that's high quality.
This is why I like Life cereal. Life cereal, it's not as sugary, but it's still a bit sugary.
If you having actually eaten some mostly unsweetened cereal in my time, having gone for the apply your own sugar method, though at that at least you can know it's real sugar, but like unflavored cereals are just fucking bland by design. Mr. Kellogg literally wanted you to eat bland cereal so you wouldn't get boners. I don't know why he thought that would work, but whatever. It was the early 1900s or 1800s or something. And now they, sell Kellogg cereal for twice the price of normals. Why? Who knows? But no, if you wanna do an interesting study, think a little about the ads you see every day. If you see any ads, I know a decent number of people have YouTube Red. If I clicked the insert ad button right now, some of you wouldn't see it. I didn't actually click it, by the way, if you're curious. I thought about it, but nah. I want to keep talking.
Oh, keep talking.
But I'm always tempted to do that like diary thing. Keep track of some of this. See how funny it is. Because there are ads that absolutely, while not necessarily directly related, are relevant to me. I think for the first time in a long time today, I saw a 5-second ad for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and I'm just like, why don't I get these all the time? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I already play Master Duel, but like, I don't actively play Master Duel. You guys could remind me more often, and I might boot it up more. Why isn't these being served to me more? Who knows? But some of this discussion about Pogs and Slammers. I vaguely remember Pogs. I never really got into those.
I did. For a little bit.
Listen, kids like shiny things.
Listen, I love playing marbles. I love playing Pogs. It was great.
I did play some marbles, and marbles are... I think I still got the bag of those somewhere.
Who doesn't like shiny glass baubles?
And they're round, and you get to, like, flick them around?
They make nice little tick-tick-tick sounds?
Well, at least in that case, it sounds like YouTube is on the ball with serving ads to our audience. It's for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links and Master Duel. The part of that is your own fault. You make Lucky read out Yu-Gi-Oh! Memes on Mailbag a lot. Like, I don't actively engage in that crossover.
There's just a lot of adult men who can't get over their cardboard crack.
Ugh. Okay. Let's see. Right. I was going to say that the conversation about food brands and stuff is actually kind of funny. I don't actually think I talked about this with the Cabal yet, but Um, Another thing I've been doing over this week, because I've been thinking about, is fleshing out some of the fluff for our Sprawl setting, Singularity War.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have my own thoughts on this. Some of it is just trying to lock in some of the ideas we've had, which is kind of like vague and sketch-like in a format that is not my actively used MC notes that I need to like remember who characters are what and who's in trouble with whom, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first two I did was probably some of the more prominent corps that our characters are invested in. Working on my own thoughts for Suzaku security system and kind of like double checking with Lucky and the guys. And then also working on Cross Nexus. I did one more a couple days ago, which was your next big concern, Northwest, actually. Northwest
Yes.
Industries. So working through all that stuff. And I wanted to do this to kind of like, lock in more names, more pocket lints. I love pocket lint in world building. There's so much in Northwest. It's funny. It's always a little weird how these things shape out. Like, because I think the Sprawl rulebook says to assign, your major corps one or two industries that they're like really key in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for Suzaku Security Systems, they are, security or like military and electronics.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the paramilitary mercenary stuff, the military tech, that came pretty easily. So did electronics because of, I think, some of the general trend we've done with the backstory, but I explicitly tied it together as Suzaku kind of comes out of a, wartime collab between the tech sector and the defense sector on basically early cybernetics. And that's, those companies were working together. All the government money goes away when the U.S. government is like, we are collapsing. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye.
I push the eject button. I'm going to the Bahamas. So they kind of came together to form this company. And I did a decent amount of work to like talk about like plot hooks and stuff. There's always this thing with Cyberpunk, with like where your corporations stand. We've always been kind of the attitude with the players that most of our corporations are not actively malicious, mustache twirling Captain Planet villains.
Yeah.
Because while there are occasionally CEOs like that, companies are not usually like that, and they are interested in profit both in the short and long term and success. So they should not be too like maniacally self-destructive. I was a little concerned that our paramilitary company filled with ex-military personnel was a little bit too much portrayed as the good guys in our Cyberpunk RPG.
Yeah.
I think that was mostly just because, obviously, your character has a lot of involvement with Suzaku, a lot of history.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether or not it was a lucky thing or a Claymore thing. Both ends of this can be very forceful, but I do kind of feel like the rest of the players didn't really want to fuck with Suzaku in that respect. Whether it was, like I said, I'm not sure, 100% sure if it was because they don't want to cross Lucky or they don't want to cross Claymore. Both work. But I think I was able to work with that and be like, no, the reason why you guys and generally people in the setting probably don't want to fuck with Suzaku is because they seem okay. They are still the military-industrial complex, but they are your military-industrial complex, which means the bad stuff they all do is somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of neo-nationalism undertones to the Singularity War because everybody's like split up into these, smaller nations and stuff. So all of Suzaku's fucked up shit is like going on out in the Pacific Ocean or like in the contested areas in Arizona or Colorado or something, or against Texas. Which I gotta be honest, I feel like with the way like modern society and social media is about being like polarized against your enemies, like if people in Pacifica saw social media posts about Suzaku doing war crimes in Texas, they would probably be like, "Good, those dirty Republic of Texans deserve it. Give them another round of anthrax."
Ugh.
Not literally, but you know what I mean. Like we are very polarized and extreme these days. So that there was some plot hooks to do there and some shakedown with some of the breakup. Cross Nexus was next. That's another interesting one because that was kind of Axe's idea. And basically, if I remember rightly from Session 0, his pitch was basically like, I am thinking of a transportation company, and I think I want to work with them, like moving all this stuff, because protecting trains and boats and stuff was cool. But also I really like biotech, so I want them to be both. And that was kind of like, yeah, sure, okay, that's what the rules say. That's kind of the point of this world building in the Sprawl is you guys pitch ideas, and sometimes they're weird, but we just kind of go with them because there's no reason not to do it, right?
Right.
So that I took a little bit of a writing challenge to kind of bridge together, but I think I made it make sense because, I had to come up with this whole backstory for Cross Nexus. Cross Nexus's founder, Adam Cross. Lucky said this was a very protagonist name.
I think so.
I think it works as a very, striking character name, yeah. He certainly thinks of himself as a protagonist. But, like, the company got its start with transportation. They were going to, overhaul America's rail lines into maglevs. Definitely had a heavy investment in, automated trucking, which was a big deal during the Singularity War because that means you don't need people to drive trucks and deliver supplies. Good for manpower. And so they kind of like, blew up post-war by buying up like railroad companies, airliners, shipping, whatever. Building like a big maglev loop, basically all across Pacifica. You said that reminded you of, what's it called, Starlink, I think?
The Starlight.
Yeah, Starlight Line. Which I think we've talked about both on mic in regards to the Sprawl and just in general about like commuter trains. So that was definitely an influence to be like, all right, what's a big project they can do? Well, what if we just string all our mega cities together with a maglev called the Pacific? But then it was like, okay, where does the biotech come in? Well, our guy Adam Cross, he seems kind of like an ambitious, tech entrepreneur. And in my mind, I was like, okay, he probably thinks of himself as like the next Steve Jobs, right? Like, he wants to be, or like an Elon Musk. He is like trying to revolutionize technology and expand into new markets as well. It's in the backstory that Cross Nexus as a company has kind of missed being the cutting edge in terms of like cyberware and Matrix stuff. A lot of that's in the hands of Suzaku or Stone & Sons when I get around to writing that one. I will probably have to discuss some of these concepts back and forth with Dallas, because Dallas doesn't usually listen to what's up. So I'll have to like work on my draft ideas and actually, corral Dallas into reading them when he stops having to finals projects. Like I said, I already got my rough idea there, and I can work on the pitch. But so Cross Nexus kind of missed out some of this stuff. So it's like, what did he do? Well, he threw all the money into biotech. So working on like, 3D cloning printing, vaccines, the anti-aging treatments we talked about are in the backstory, genetically modified organisms. Buy your new Nexus Cat TM, available in Ultimate Violet, Inferno Red, Hot Neon Pink, and Shifting Blue. If you want to know, by the way, I think a Nexus Cat TM is just a cat, a house cat, but it's blue. Because genetics. Who would want to own a blue cat? That also gave them some, like, interesting plot hooks I could get, because a lot of, like, research labs and stuff would have stores of, dangerous biological vectors.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time I've seen anyway, I had the nuts to name drop COVID as a potential future bioweapon strain. Not a pandemic, but an endemic, everybody. That probably means that, there's some stuff out there. So, different variants, I'm sure, could possibly be, studied in a lab for later. And then, there's like the little breakout in like different sections and subsidies that lets me, name drop more brands and stuff. Kind of work on their developing. I also got to work on some other fun stuff that I thought of, not just the biotech stuff, but we kind of alluded, and I think Axe in particular was kind of interested in some space stuff, if I remember rightly from like Session 0. We didn't really want to make that a focus, so I kind of alluded to it, but I kind of put some of that stuff in Cross Nexus because that is the corp that Axe thought up and his character is part of, so it felt right to like tuck in some of those plot hooks there. So there's a space element to Cross Nexus that had me do some pretty funny things, think about like what the space race is like these days. Well, probably a clusterfuck because all of the spaceports in America are scattered all over the place. There's a couple in the Southwest, and some in California, in SoCal. There's quite a few launch facilities in like Texas and Oklahoma and New Mexico. I didn't even plan on that one, by the way. It just worked out that way. And then obviously there's Florida. I think there's also a officially recognized spaceport that just opened in like Camden, Georgia. So there's some East Coast work as well. But like I got to think about this and be like, okay, what's the space race like? Well, there's probably a lot of like conflict back and forth. You brought up the idea of space resorts, pretty common in Cyberpunk as well. I haven't had a chance to firmly pin that down in the fluff, but I probably will. My favorite thing though is Secret Moon War. It is canonical to the Singularity War that NASA did have some kind of permanent moon base. And so since there's no more NASA, somebody has to take over it. So basically, like, through various companies, Republic of Texas and Pacifica are fighting over who gets to control the moon. And it's probably, pretty wacky and wild. But a big one was Northwest. And so, like I said, Suzaku was a pretty natural matchup. Cross Nexus was a little weirder. Northwest has a very interesting and deep write-up with a lot of different divisions and subdivisions because I can't remember who pioneered the Corp. I think the name was your suggestion first, Lucky, so I'm not sure who hammered out all the details, though.
For what?
Northwest.
I don't remember.
Like, I feel like Northwest Industries, or some version of that name, was like your suggestion first, but I can't remember. We were just trying to fill out the roster. But the industries they are assigned is agriculture and consumer goods, which is very broad and very big. So guess what? Northwest Industries is a very broad, big company. No space elevators. First of all, there would not be a space elevator in America. This is actually a discussion. Axe brought this up. If we were to build a hypothetical space elevator, it should be close to the equator. There's nowhere in the North America that's actually that close. If there is a space elevator in our Cyberpunk setting, it would probably be in... Pull up maps. The thing Eclipse Phase did, where there was a space elevator on Mount Kilimanjaro, probably not that bad off. I think the capital of Ecuador, Quito, is like right on the equatorial line, so that would probably be a great place for it. That or somewhere in like Singapore, Malaysia, or Indonesia, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, interesting enough, it would be Southeast Asia, the string of islands there. It would be Central Africa, or it would be South America. It is not logistically likely to build a space elevator in North America, funnily enough. So yeah, if there is a space elevator, none of our corps are involved with it as a plot point. Obviously, a lot of the Pacifica, which is West Coast. But yeah, so Northwest is pretty big. I came up with a kind of a rough idea for how they started. Northwest Bioplastics.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, coming up with plastic packaging, because we discussed this a decent amount when discussing the history of the actual war itself for some backstory stuff. Since China was one of the involved parties in our hypothetical World War III, that probably means that all, manufacturing and shipping out of China at the time was definitely embargoed. Depending on the country you're in now and the port you're going to, probably still a little, dicey, prone to extra tariffs or searches, or just straight-up piracy. Suzaku's definitely not bitter about the invasion of Japan or anything.
Nope, not at all.
I did not write it in my notes that their CEO, their commander-in-chief, may have been blinded when somebody used a very large weapon on Kyoto. Chief Hayato Suzuki, known as the Vermilion Hawk. He's definitely has no reason to be upset at anybody. So bioplastics was because bioplastics is a real field that can be used for packaging and shipping and stuff. The thing about bioplastics is it is biodegradable. That makes it great for packaging because it is recyclable, not for necessarily long-term structure. because you want those to last. But definitely for an alternative to a lot of the plastic waste we do, it's an interesting field. So I figured that would be a nice way to roll in. Eventually also did a subdivision, Northwest Biofuels, because petroleum extraction was needed for, actual plastics fuel, whether that's straight up hydrogen fuel or just using the actual hydrocarbons themselves. And that kind of became a theme. Their founder is, an immigrant, Rodney Allen. And basically the idea of Northwest is, the CEO didn't see an industry he couldn't subdivide into. So they expanded into a lot of stuff. Figured there was going to be a refugee crisis, so there might be a food crisis, invested in vertical farming. Turns out there was a refugee crisis and a food crisis, but not for the reason you'd think. It's because America broke up. And kind of expanded into everything. So Northwest, if anybody, if any of the guys want to check the chat, and this is open. You guys can read fluff. I've been sending a lot of links today in chat.
Mm-hmm.
Here, read something if you feel like it, chat. But I think it's 3 pages long. They're, okay, 2.5. One of them, there's just one bullet point paragraph before it moves on to the next page. Their section on subsidies and stuff is the longest so far out of the 3 I've written, just because it feels natural that and it kind of makes sense why Northwest has become the corp you guys are kind of fixated on dealing with, and having so many problems with, because they're really big. They're in a lot of industries. They don't have necessarily a lot of manpower. I even wrote this into the backstory. Not every corporation is all bad or all good. Northwest was a big proponent of the universal basic income that's in Pacifica because they need customers, not workers.
True.
They don't need crop pickers and farmers and stuff. They need drone programmers and technicians. They can have robots do everything. Manufacture consumer goods, robots. So they're big into automation. That's what I thought. I was so they're a big corporation. They're everywhere. They have a retail arm. I talk a lot about vertical integration. They do the megacorp thing of yestercentury, where Northwest grows the crop, turns the crop into food, sells you the crop. They grow the super wheat, they turn it into super bread. You go to Northwest Mart, you buy the super bread. You see the super bread advertised on TV by Northwest. Because consumer goods is a freakishly broad segment. Thanks for making that one thing the Sprawl.
Mm-hmm.
But works out. They have a lot of different segmentation and stuff. And it's kind of interesting to focus on how everybody's corpo culture and security stuff works. Obviously, because they use so much automation, Northwest uses a lot of security drones, either in-house or externally. They do have their field security force for operations, but they're not necessarily acting say Suzaku, who are literal corporate soldiers. They have a military type structure. A shitload of their people are actually ex-military or have gone through military style training. The guys running security for Northwest are outdoorsmen. They're hiring from ex park rangers, rural law enforcement, etc. Because they have people who need to maintain security on large fields growing crops, so the people don't steal them. Though I did come up with, I love funny future slang. Their retail security guards are called Majas.
Majas.
Corruption of Mall Ninja.
Oh.
Because they are not, the Paul Blart Mall cops. They literally are wearing, tack gear at all times. Because it is still the cyberpunk future. So don't shoplift, some SWAT guys might rappel down and fire at you with submachine guns.
Slightly terrifying?
They probably don't go that hard, but it's just the kind of thing that I would imagine. No, of course, in the cyberpunk dystopia, of course they at least visibly go that hard, but they don't need to use all that force. It's just pure intimidation. That's just what people are used to. But NWI has a lot of divisions, which let me come up with a lot of pocket lint. I kind of feel like the way they're structured, there are subsidiaries who are mentioned in other companies. Like I talked about how, and I was using this in the fluff already. Like Suzaku's one of Suzaku's subsidiaries is Seiryu Electronics.
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
Yep.
Did you get it, audience?
I got it.
Which handles a lot of their non-military stuff. Also another brand, Tortoise Green, was name dropped in the divisions as well, producing like clothing and survival gear. I know that technically the tortoise is usually black, but for my own internal reasons, I reserved the color black for their Black Ops division, Kurotora, Black Tiger, because that's cooler sounding. They wouldn't be very covert if they were White Tiger, am I right?
I don't know. I still think it could have been a little cool, but nah.
I mean, I just really like saying Kurotora.
Yeah, can't fault you for that.
But Northwest actual divisions are all named very literally. Northwest Food, Northwest Manufacturing, Northwest Apparel. Their big thing I figured would be brands, so I had a lot of fun coming up with just like different brand name drops for backstory stuff. Again, talking to you, I love to populate, I love to fluff out stuff. Like for food, their Pacific Garden brand probably focuses on fruit, vegetable, and grain products, both fresh and processed. Super wheat, rices, cereals, soy for protein. Their Iron Man brand of food is probably like much more stripped down and direct. Protein powders, which are made from God knows what, don't ask.
Protein.
Vat-grown burgers, survival rations. If you want their high-end products, you have to buy their Nostalgia Farms, which is it is a Pepperidge Farm Remembers joke. But that's the kind of like marketing they would go for,
Mm-hmm.
Real chocolate, poultry products, real meat and dairy. Very expensive though, because it's kind of a pain in the ass because you got to take care of the animal. Got a beverage subdivision, which I had a lot of fun, brands of clear and sparkling water. Obviously, guys, in case you haven't picked up, I don't know if I'd call myself a connoisseur. I am an enjoyer of soda. I like a wide variety of soda products and colas. So I had a little fun playing around with a couple of different brandings. For soft drinks, I made they have the Americanized brand Rocky Mountain Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Comes in flavors such as Original, Sunny Citrus, Sarsaparilla, Glacier Ginger. And then, so the way this brand name is probably pronounced out loud in marketing is Kirade. But I made it by applying Kira, the Japanese like automatopoeia for sparkle, and aid, which is the universal suffix for a soft drink, I guess. I still don't know why that etymology, but I did some research for this, and like that's a pretty universal. Like cherry aid, orange aid, whatever. That's pretty across the globe. There's some kind of iteration on that. So it's actually like Kira aid, but again, they probably actually pronounce it like Japanese style Kirade. That has more like Asian cola persuasion, taking a little influence from and stuff like that. Laser
Honestly,
lemon.
If I'm thinking about it,
beauty.
like I'm thinking about like the aid bit, it's probably because there's a lot of times like back when like soft drinks and soda was coming out, they were sold as medicinals and tonics.
Yeah, I suspect that's probably why.
Just like, huh?
It's not spelled that way, but it's pronounced.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, Flavor Aid is spelled with the actual aid. Wikipedia. Places. Aid, drink suffix, thank you. This is literally like 2 paragraphs. Etymology. Yeah, it's literally just because lemonade, I think.
Really?
Apparently. That is the sourced etymology.
Wild.
Introduced to English with the word lemonade, a loan for French. It also derives from the Italian name limonata. Yeah. Popular convention with sports drinks, starting with the British drink Lucozade, produced in 1907, and then just a shitload. So yeah, I don't know. Some of those are definitely in the medicinal, so maybe that's why, especially if it's like sports drinks associated, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I missed.
Seems like a weird overlap. But yeah, that was fun to come up with. They have their own brand of energy drinks, Bigfoot energy drinks, all caps.
Sounds about right.
That is not marketed in flavors, it is marketed in colors. You don't care what flavor the Bigfoot is.
I do actually need to read this at some point.
Yeah, it's all new. I probably should have brought it up earlier, but I've been busy the past couple of days. It's fairly dense. I've got some funny things hidden in there. The thing with the Bigfoot was just I keep thinking about the way people talk about energy drinks. Like, I don't know what fucking flavor White Monster is, even is a flavor. I only ever hear people talk about it as White Monster, you know? Same with some other energy drinks. Monster. They only talk about the color of the can.
Oh, they must be talking about the Zero Sugar Monster. That's what I drink a lot. Actually, what is it?
Yeah.
Do I even have any left? Yeah, I do. What flavor is this? Oh, yeah, this. Well, I mean, what kind of flavor is Zero Ultra?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I just literally pulled out the can and was like, what is the flavor on this?
White Monster flavor.
Yeah, no, like, because I buy a triple pack. Let's see. The 3 flavors are Ultra Fiesta, Zero Ultra, and Ultra Rosa. I'm just like, yeah, no colors. That's all I got.
Yeah, Ultra Pink was one of those. I don't know what flavor or color Siesta is supposed to be. Sleep flavored?
No, Fiesta.
Oh, Fiesta. Okay, party flavor.
It's like a light blue.
I don't know what the fuck that is. And I mean, a lot of us are familiar with that, much like some of the talk about like cereal and stuff. A lot of people probably remember drinks back in the day. Like, obviously there was fruit punch stuff, but I remember shit like blue raspberry. There's no such thing as blue raspberries, even though blue raspberry is delicious. All kinds of other stuff. I don't actually know if people ever actually made a cherry limeade. Like, to me, that's just a color of, like, Kool-Aid and sports drinks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason why you couldn't do. Yeah, purple drink.
Purple drink.
And that's also fair. Grape and orange soda doesn't really taste like grapes or oranges. But those sections are pretty long because I had some fun with them. But there's still a lot more divisions, like talking about like different brand names for, clothing. I did kind of figure that like Northwest has a sport division for like sporting goods.
Sports.
They don't actually like produce weapons, but that means they probably produce weapons in like firearms anyway in a hunting and sporting calibers. Produce a lot of secondhand ammunition, stuff like that. Also because nitrocellulose is a pretty common ingredient in smokeless powder. One of the ingredients of nitrocellulose is cellulose, also known as gun cotton. So I assume the agro business would know about that. But that was kind of interesting to go down this wave of just like, oh yeah, and this subsidiary, and that subsidiary, because, consumer goods is very broad.
Yes.
And so is agriculture. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and it kind of worked out. I'm not sure what write-up I would do next. I've been kind of busy, like I said, the last couple of days and haven't known exactly what I would do. I think I have a rough sketch for most of our remaining Corp's, like, origins. I think the only one I'm not sure how they got started is RGC, Rio Grande Combine, who does heavy industry and primary resources. Like, I know what they do now, mining, probably, refining of oils into and other fossil fuels into plastic and hydrogen, water purification, desalination, stuff like that, so you can get more water. I am not quite sure how they got started yet. I'm sure I'll figure that one out if I ever sit down to chip at it. But I've been doing this a lot because we have been doing a lot of Sprawl thinking. Like I said, that AP is scheduled. I will probably post it tomorrow if you want to see the conclusion of the crypt job. It's decently long, I think we had a good time.
I think so.
There's some scenes in it I'm very happy about. I think in particular the fact that I finally got Rook on screen doing stuff. That seemed to be pretty enjoyable.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Gave a lot of people the gut check. So hopefully the audience can resonate with that scene as well. And we started thinking about a lot of stuff though with like fluff and background because we're I kind of sort of introducing a new player character. We actually recorded like doing links and stuff at the back half, but obviously that character won't join us until the next job, which is the Northwest job, which I need to flesh out some extra details, but I've got the rough outline of what you would be tackling. I can unbox that one at a later date. Probably do need to go about and finish out some of my concepts for like different people who maybe want to pay you money to things or other weird challenges, weird off-the-cuff stuff. But yeah, I will say the session started a little slow. We once again bonked headfirst into the Matrix rules.
Yeah, I actually had to do a lot of reading on that myself because I was like, it can't be this obtuse. Guess what? It is.
Yeah, the Matrix rules are, like a lot of things in Powered by the Apocalypse, they're really only designed for you to be on the... I don't want to say exactly the defensive, but they are meant for you to infiltrate systems and be targeted by systems.
Yeah.
So, hacker fights, which is kind of the situation we got ourselves into, I set it up that there was another hacker in the system and they were doing stuff. Those aren't really detailed. I'll admit, I feel like I was slightly bamboozled by the way Dallas wanted to go about it. I was not expecting him necessarily to immediately go, I want to murder this person. Where's my black ice? I want to make them die or go in a coma. And I'm like, okay, all right. Shit, how do we do that? And then it was kind of like, well, I want to trace them. And I'm like, I think the best way to do that is this. Obviously, we're doing stuff on the cuff. We ended up having some conversations about that. You suggested, and I said this later, I think it's a okay solution. I do not know if it's required.
Yeah.
Coming up with a program that just applies trace. That is definitely a way to do it. I don't know if that's a solution Dallas's character would prefer because you only have so many programs per cyber deck.
Yeah,
but he already has his picked programs, but you can swap them.
Yeah, I'm about to say you can swap them, or maybe you can get can you just hold multiple cyber decks? Like I was trying to actually figure out what is a cyber deck.
Yes,
is it like a physical thing? Is it an internal thing? I'm not.
Yeah, the cyber deck is supposed to be external, and I did some fluff of my own writing for like what I think the fuck is meant by a cyber deck because it is not explained. It's like the Matrix. It is assumed. What was... Let me dig out what I actually wrote on that. As far as I can tell, they are meant to be mostly external devices you have to plug into things. They're, supposed to be your cool hacking computer. Where is that? Did I write about?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to fucking start all over. God damn it. Okay.
The cyber deck is a powerful portable computer device which can range from the size of a deck of cards to a hefty paperback book, usually weigh a kilo or two, made from polymers and plastics. Names come from size and shape and relationship to a tape deck, though they are not often paired with visual devices and need to be plugged into an external network.
Okay.
And jack into the Matrix via fiber optic cables. That was the solution I came up with several sessions ago. Like, I was trying to figure out why the fuck they're called a cyber deck, I think, in the fiction, and I think it is because of tape decks. And that I believe the programs are supposed to be stored on like pre-programmed chips and stuff that can get like burned out, so you have to replace them or swap them. So yeah, hypothetically, Dallas could probably just buy a tracing program if he wanted to go that route. That would mean he would have to keep extra track on himself because he would have extra programs or extra cyber decks, whatever. I also my general assumption was, well, for some reason, on the interact with security hold page, one of the security systems is activate or deactivate ICE. Since players can spend to use that list, I assume the idea is that you can activate ICE. The main thing was that Dallas didn't have any of his own ICE. That was established, and he was operating out of a person's personal phone and his home computer, and he did not actually buy any extra software. So it was kind of weird and just general. I think using assess to kind of get a grasp on the situation, and it turned out to not be that big of a deal because, funnily enough, by the time you guys actually talked to the NPC, it was oh no, oh honey, oh no. I love that flip where it's where's my black ice? I went to murder this person. Oh my god, you are in trouble. Go to the hospital right now. You are not okay. Player characters, am I right?
Yeah.
So it turned out to not be that big of a deal just because of the things of role-playing, but it's definitely something that made me think about being a little prepared for that in the future. And you and I had a little bit of a powwow because you actually looked at the Matrix rules and were slightly bamboozled. Yeah,
yes.
They're a little bamboozling. I don't know if there have ever been like really streamlined hacking rules. I think the Sprawl does okay at it.
Well, I think it's I think the problem with a lot of systems like this is they try to make their cyberspaces unique enough that you're going into a whole nother world, a whole nother realm. But that's the problem, is you're making a whole nother system that, frankly, just kind of kicks out a lot of the players and stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, that's always a complaint I've heard about the original Cyberpunk 2020 is the rule is either everybody plays a decker or nobody does.
Yeah. I mean, that's the
because
same rule.
doing Netrunner stuff, that is like such a subsystem slowdown that, and I know Shadowrun has the same problem.
Oh yeah, I'm about to say it's like that was the exact same thing I was about to say. I had the same rule about playing Shadowrun.
Yeah, I think the original editions of Shadowrun were pretty heavily influenced by CP 2020 as well, so it makes sense. Different overall systems. I think the original Cyberpunk is like 3d6, and Shadowrun is obviously d6 dice pool, but there was enough overlap in the ideas there and the genres. And yeah, no, it's the problem is that when you do this whole like breakout function, it happens on such a different time scale that it's really distracting. Eclipse Phase kind of had the same problem, but it was in the reverse. The time frame to hack anybody in the first edition of Eclipse Phase was so long, there was no way to actually be relevant in a fight as a hacker. Mm-hmm. You could not do cool Ghost in the Shell, turn myself invisible shit, because it was much more efficient to be like, hey, I have 3 action turns every initiative turn, mm-hmm. So I fire my gun 9 million times, everybody is dead.
Yes.
So it's not so much that, it was all or nothing, it's just that playing a combat hacker was grossly less efficient than playing a murder machine who got extra actions. Just double fisting assault rifles. The second edition tried to refine that a little, and I think they kept in some of the time reduction stuff, but it's still not perfect. Mm-hmm. And the main thing is just trying to translate like computer security actions to role playing is hard. I have to reread the rules from Genesis's Cyberpunk settlement. I think they do a fairly decent job because it's Genesis. It's basically just like, okay, they split the computer skill into hacking versus sysop, mm-hmm. So defensive versus offensive, which is a decent move. And then basically it's just like, okay, if you're trying to hack a system and there's an active like administrator, you roll it opposed, you're hacking versus his sysop. If you're in the middle of like a structured encounter where you're taking turns, there's a couple of extra actions you can take to like, track security or flush guys or make them fight ice, because, the Genesis system is based off the world of the Android Netrunner card game, while Wizards of the Coast ended that collab with Fantasy Flight, so the card game itself is discontinued. FFG and now Edge, who produces the Genesis, have access to that IP, so they can still use the universe and stuff. I think there's like an Android novella and like a setting book out there. But ICE was a pretty big part of that game, so it's part of that as well. But a lot of it can be simplified to just roll the narrative dice. Did you get some threats or some advantages? Okay, cool, we're done. You can make it more complex, but you don't have to. You can just be like, all right, roll the dice, you're done. You got like 9 successes. Okay, cool. We go. So, but yeah, similarly, I've been personally thinking about, even Aaron said how they did the Matrix rules in Genesis. I remember skimming them. I feel like it was pretty straightforward and not too complex. It's just, all that you really need to do from a game design perspective is give players like reasonable actions and levels of interactivity, mm-hmm. and like make the rules flow. Like, we shouldn't have to stop down for flowcharts. We shouldn't have to stop down to calculate the math of like, yes, this system is using this level of encryption. It will take you n to the xth power turns to solve it. No, don't fuck with that. Just roll dice, have stuff happen. If you need to structure it, come up with a basic action of like, okay, you can roll to break into a system you don't have access to. Cool. You can roll to steal or delete files. All right. You're defending a system. You can roll to identify an attacker. All right, you've identified an attacker, roll to kick him the fuck out. Simple stuff. Because combat can be complicated in games, but a lot of people, if you learn the system, it flows pretty well, right?
All right.
Well, and I'll say, Axe, talking about aggressive Matrix moves, yes. I mean, I guess I could make Dallas roll mix it up in the Matrix, but he would actively not enjoy that.
That's a meat move.
Well, yeah, that's Genesis has a very simplistic structured time, and they expanded that to include both social combat and lots of other stuff. Social combat in the base rules in Genesis, in Shadows of the Beanstalk, the Android setting, they extended it to Cyberwar stuff. I mean, it could be synth. That might work. It's not explicitly a rule, but that would be easier. All the Matrix moves use like different stats as well, so I could see it. But the funny thing is, when talking about the Matrix, there's like programs and stuff that let you know, and I had to I kind of softer mind, we had to bring it up in discussion, but like one of the programs Dallas even has like gives him extra hold on assess in the Matrix. It's like, okay, so we firmly established you can assess in the Matrix. You can probably do research,
oh yeah, that's all listed under the
probably
Matrix
could have played hardball, though I don't know what his edge is like. But it's like we said, it's kind of in a weird sense of...
Yeah, actually, there is no such thing as Matrix combat, I just realized.
Yeah, there's no description. I mean, like, ice can get activated and cause you trouble. There's no real, like, if you run into NPCs in the Matrix. Like I said, if I was being simple, I would just be like, all right, you hacker fight him, roll, mix it up, but with synth or something, A lot of these games tend towards keep it simple, stupid, but it is interesting. There are no like explicit rules or like guidance for hacker duels, which are pretty common in this kind of setting. I think the Sprawl could probably use a 2.0, clean up some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe work on some of the curves, because we've also been talking a lot about the end game of the Sprawl. Because Powered by the Apocalypse games are not necessarily intended for you to run them for like 5 years or whatever, however long people run D&D campaigns these days.
Oh shit, that's why nothing's happening. Everyone's fucking trapped inside. Shit.
Rip.
I
You
forgot.
got a door?
No door.
How could you?
Okay, now people can get out.
Now we could flee the building.
I had them trapped in the freezer. Fuck.
Why are we all so cold? We cannot leave the freezer.
This is some Sims shit right there.
Yep. But Powered by the Apocalypse games are not necessarily meant to be played like super long term. I do not think we are necessarily long term currently. Like I said, I've listened to some Powered by the Apocalypse world games that have gone on for like 10 or 12 or more sessions. Usually those were not the Sprawl, and basically what happens is players usually like work through all their other advancements, and then they go, all right, cool, we're hitting ahead in the plot. All right, cool. At a dramatic moment, I've earned my advance. I retire. I'm out, bitches. Boom. That's my character arc done. You can't do that in the Sprawl. The Sprawl has some weird stuff where it makes sense because a lot of Cyberpunk is about like the economy and like the excesses of capitalism and the corporate structure, right? Like there's a lot of baggage and all that stuff wrapped up in it, a lot of talk about like economic inequality and class differentials and stuff. At the same time, how much fucking money this game wants you to spend can get a little ludicrous. To retire, your character not only needs to have had 5th advances and get another advance, which, by the way, takes a long time. We talked about this a lot before. The default EXP curve in the Sprawl is like twice as long as a normal EXP curve. You also have to have 20 cred, which is a lot. Fucking lot of money.
It is.
So, yeah, it's very hard to pre-plan this because your cred is like really expensive. I think the idea is a decent amount of this is supposed to be for con play, or what I suspect, and this may happen to our characters anyway, but what I suspect happens a lot in the Sprawl is everybody, keeps going for money until they burn out and die. Which fits the mold of Cyberpunk. But it makes some of the planning stuff a little weird. Like I ultimately mentioned this. I said this myself. I don't want to necessarily like rush any of the players. Aaron literally just joined in session 8, so like obviously I'm not in a hurry to end it. I enjoy doing the episodic stuff, and I have quite a few ideas to work through. But I also just wanted to remind all the players, the game cannot continue indefinitely. We will hit some hyper level of inertia where the game will like implode in on itself. Eventually you guys are going to work through all your advancement options on your playbook and just not be able to grow as characters, right?
Right.
And so, and I think you were the first one to come in and be like, yeah, we should probably make sure we think about like where we want our characters to go. I have my ideas and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Think about what your character arc is. And hell, if your character arc is eventually I go out in a blaze of glory, that's okay. We'll probably hit that point, or we won't. And if you're the only character left standing, we can just be like, well, eventually you went on a blaze of glory and you got your character conclusion, but the rest of the characters have wrapped up their arcs, so here's where we are. And that's part of why I wanted to like rebundle some of the fluff a little bit. Like I said, I'm thinking that maybe I might turn that into a Genesis conversion, so we could do, because I feel like a lot of people in the group really like what we've done with the Singularity War type setting.
Well, I mean, I think it's an amazing setting personally.
Yeah. And it's something that, like everybody involved in playing built together. We like recommend ideas. Yes, I do a lot of fluff writing, but I do that with input from the guys. They like brought up these ideas, these corporations, these setting elements, and kind of like, okay, yeah, okay. And I start like, they give me the colored thumbtacks, and then I run the colored string between them, basically. And we will do late night jams about back and forth ideas and kind of bounce off each other. So we like the setting. I do not think the Sprawl is perfectly suited to every story we could do in this setting. So, like I said, I might turn it into a Genesis conversion and, like, they already have a Cyberpunk setting, so it wouldn't be too hard to, like, reapply some of the fluff and ideas and stuff like that. That's not an urgent process. That's just something I thought of because we were talking and thinking a lot about how this will ultimately work out. Because, like I said, the Sprawl, little weird at some points. We've already, like, done our own hack for the EB curve. I don't know if I'll have to do something about the fucking the money curve, because, like, I'll say this, for both the players and the general audience. So the thing with countdown clocks is the way they work is when they hit midnight, when they max out, something is supposed to happen. That's not necessarily the campaign is over. The only one that is an explicit fail state is the action clock, where it is very explicit. If your action clock hits midnight, the job is failed. You have failed the mission somehow. Whether the heat got too much or, the target moved or some other thing, right? Maybe you guys did most of your objectives, but you got all horrifically caught, whatever, Corporate clocks and threat clocks are not a game over. They just mean that something happens, which is presumably dramatic and complicated for the players. I don't want to say necessarily negative, but, it has to create conflict. So, funnily enough, because we added a new player character, we have a very large clock on one of our other corporations, Stone & Sons, which is a little awkward because in character, Dallas is absolutely correct. His character would absolutely sell you guys because that's his family company, and also his mother is very scary, and she runs the company. It's like a twofold problem. Also, he's double owned by the company, so... yeah, it's like a big dramatic thing, and I'm not necessarily averse to that conflict. There's a lot of, like, not necessarily PvP, but a lot of player intersecting mechanics with, like, how social roles work against other players and rolling help or interference and stuff, like, which we don't really touch. Even though, yes, it is, Axe. If you should not have been the first to volunteer if you thought this was going to be a problem, but here we are.
That's the thing. Like, if you want to be involved, you have to accept the consequences. Again,
we didn't really rediscuss this at the time, but the rules are very obvious about, hey, here's your advice for how you don't make the clocks huge. Spread them out. Don't go all in on everybody's jobs. And much like the first session, when we introduced a new player character, everybody ignored it.
Yep.
Which is fair. That's how we play the game. It's okay. Like I said, if you guys max out Stone & Sons' clock, it's not necessarily Stone & Sons comes and murders you all. That doesn't work for Dallas's character straight up. At least not unless he actively goes against the company, but that's kind of his character thing that he won't. So I don't know exactly what that clock will look like when it hits midnight, but what it will probably look like is Stone & Sons confronts you in a dark alley and is like, hey, hi, so you've been hanging out with my son. Cool, you work for me now. You do jobs when I ask you. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. I'm going to, dump all your private information to your enemies. Okay, cool, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And the clock doesn't necessarily reset, so that would still give you guys incentive to like buy down the clock and like buy off your quote unquote debt or do a job against it. And I don't know, I feel like eventually like Dallas's character might be persuaded to the reasonable version of this problem, which is, you know, remove all the dirt they have on you, rather than your current plan for Northwest, which is to cause enough property damage they decide to leave you alone.
Yes. I'm very excited about this plan.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you guys shake it out and how you hopefully manage to turn a profit. As established, having money is important. The money curve also, by the way, this is another thing we've talked about, is weird laying low. That's a or higher, so it's half your cred or 5 cred, whichever is greater. And that means if everybody doesn't have 5 cred, and obviously you can probably work out loans and stuff, but if everybody doesn't have at least 5 cred, you can't lay low, which is kind of important.
Yeah, I think I actually said the best amount of cred to have is like 9 to 10 to lay low, because that's the thing. If you lay low, that cred's gone, then you still need to invest cred in your next job.
And I've read some advice online for how to handle like what happens if one of your player characters like has to completely burn through his cred.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so how does he like have the ability to get more money? Most suggestions have been like maybe somebody floats him a loan of a cred, or you can like hit the street to get a loan from like a loan shark or something.
Oh, that makes sense.
Another one is we talked last time about the executed operation move.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe you do like a very minor job with no investment for just like 1 or 2 cred to get started, and that has its own risks.
I think that's a good way to use operation.
Yeah, like as a side job for like, shit, we need to raise some capital for our next job. What do we do? Well, we'll do the equivalent of like the NCPD. No, Axe. That's the thing. If you lay low, you have to spend the money. You can't hide it. That's because you need that money to. Yeah, no, there's no way to store cred for later. You have to hoard it.
Yeah, Axe. What do you think?
The game is not meant to be. You are not meant to stockpile money, Axe. That is not how this game is designed.
Yeah, like that's what laying low is you're using the money that you stockpiled. Like, what do you think? What do you think your cred is doing? Do you think you just keep it in your pocket all day? No, you usually put it in some sort of electronic deposit, and that just sits there until you need it. Lying low is guess what? You need it.
Yeah, that, like you said, the reason why you spend cred to lay low is because you go off the grid. You use your reserves of cash to, to buy for food and stay somewhere other than your normal haunt. Sometimes it's maybe to pay people off to ignore you, but mostly it's just like, hey, I'm gonna, go to ground. I'm not gonna do my normal job. I'm gonna be like completely off the radar so the heat dies down. You are chewing into your savings, basically. And I believe the reason why it's like supposed to be like 20 cred to retire is like that's so you have saved up a big enough nest egg. You don't need to worry about your character's financial future, probably. Yes, the levels are fucked, but it's weird. That said, 20 cred is in system a fuck ton of money. Like a military grade vehicle is around 8 cred, so 20 cred is a lot of fucking money. So as a retirement nest egg,
did we actually talk about like reducing gear prices and stuff? I forgot.
We've off and on, and I have absolutely at times, even though the book has been like rough ballpark of cred, I've been like, nah, that should be less than that, right?
Okay.
Like you were asking about like your hard suit, and I'm like, no, I don't actually think that's that expensive. I know it's a lot of armor, and I probably shouldn't give you more armor, but like it's not very mechanically. The hard suit, allegedly probably some kind of power armor, not that mechanically complex. It's like 3 armor and 1 negative tag to like balance it out. It doesn't like give you like +1 ongoing on beat people up rolls or anything. It's just armor. So I'm like, no, that should probably be pretty cheap. That should be on the lower end of the expense. But definitely the curve is also kind of. It's really high. You need to do like several jobs that invest a lot, which means you got to raise clocks, which means you got to get more heat. It's I get the kind of spiral they're going for. I actually think Red Markets is a system that does this kind of like economic spiral shit better. Because like mechanically, your upkeep is focused on what you have right now when you start the game. Mm-hmm. You actually have to maintain your upkeep, but that's so that your gear is maintained and all your dependents can like eat and have somewhere to sleep and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
and then you can work up from there. You can get loans, but obviously there's the whole red market thing. A loan shark in the zombie apocalypse wasteland has to be a very bad motherfucker for this system to actually work. But that actually you calculate your upkeep based on the job, and that's where your payment levels start, and then you work up there if you have a good negotiation and stuff. The Sprawl is kind of like post facto with all the cost shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously you have to invest in the job, and there's some modifiers there. Pays more, pays. God knows why you would be a mean GM and be like, this job pays less by default. Like, I think technically you guys may get some 1 or 2x cred paybacks for this job, but that's because this job is very non-standard.
Well, again, that's what I tried to do. Is I tried to talk to people about things that we could do to make some bank, like stealing, convoys of grain.
Also, yes, Axe, it expects you to be fucking broke. You were playing a Cyberpunk game.
If you're, well, again, you're playing it because you have a what's the word I want to call it? You have a moonlighting addiction. I guess that's the best word to put it.
He's got an adrenaline problem.
There we go.
He misses field work.
But I need I guess
I think out of our player characters, Claymore, Squirrel, and the newly established Wolf, they all got to work to live. They got to work. Dallas's character doesn't have to work for a living, even at his corporate job, probably. But he is literally playing like a 19-year-old cyberpunk kid. So, he's doing this for the thrills. And to be fair, we've come up with good justifications for why he doesn't have unlimited money in character to spend on job stuff, because that's his, corporate sky parents' money. And if he flashed it around willy-nilly, he'd get fucking audited, and then that would be bad for him. Your character acts as kind of a middle management guy. Hypothetically, Odin could stop running, freelancing tomorrow, and you probably have enough money to live on. But character-wise, that would be hell for your character, I think. That would be something he wouldn't enjoy. He doesn't want that, boring humdrum life. So whether he's, working until he dies in the field, or he's if I want to retire, I want to retire with a fuck ton of money because I'm not gonna, work out there. I mean, yeah, but then you still gotta, spend the cred you're making, so you're probably not making that much liquid cash. Honestly, a lot of your issues come from the fact that you made your character a certain way that is not necessarily the way that is perfectly intended by the rules. A lot of Cyberpunk protagonists are not desk jockeys, at least not anymore. See the 5-minute intro if you play Corpo in Cyberpunk 2077. You get fucking violently fired. You almost get fired out of a cannon if Jackie wasn't there.
Thanks, Jackie. You're the best.
So, yeah, no, it's because, I mean, you don't start at a 0 point per se. You do get some starting cred, some starting cash.
I mean, it's literally after the prologue almost with fucking V, pretty much.
Yeah. And even for V, you don't go completely down. You got a car,
Mm-hmm.
A fairly decent car, too. It's you don't start with the literal, smart car 2-seat shitbox, right?
Yeah.
So, you're doing okay, You've got some guns and some clothes.
You got a place?
You pick from. Yeah, an apartment is honestly pretty huge. Though, you do have at least in the latest patch, you do get an email from your landlord about how you need to catch up on your rental payments.
Gotta pay the rent,
I think that's part of the fluff for how you can remodel your apartment is you square up with the landlord. And the Sprawl works in a similar way. Starting player characters usually have a couple guns, some armor, maybe 1 or 2 pieces of fluff gear that's tangential that they've got, and usually have some starting cred in your pocket, which is not how Cyberpunk 2077 starts. I think you start with $0. Maybe a little left over if you scavenge some shit in your prologue.
Yeah,
but probably not.
Probably not, no, but still.
So yeah, it's, and if you read stories like Neuromancer, our protagonists in that are working class people who are no longer part of the corporate infrastructure. Snow Crash, similarly, hero protagonist used to be a big shot computer programmer at a Fortune 500 company, but left for personal reasons, and he lives in a converted storage unit with a Eastern European immigrant, and swings rebar for practice in the field. I mean, no, that is probably what the soldier is. Like, you could be like a freelance mercenary. I mean, there's the wording of the move company man is, you used to be a company man. You got all the stuff back there.
I mean, I would have just, like, if you want to my parents, like, I would have just said you're still attached. You pick a couple things that make you owned. Just pick the corp you're in, you're a soldier, and you're basically a field agent for your corp who runs jobs for them and digs up dirty secrets of the other one, and you're the one who doesn't exist but gets down and dirty.
Yeah, the specific thing about Odin's backstory is he still has a desk he can go to that he does not go to sometimes, and that's where his plus own comes in, because his technical corpo boss knows that he moonlights and officially doesn't give a shit so long as, when he gets called on for a job for Cross Nexus, he shows up for that, because, it's disposable. But it has caused some weird overlap sometimes. We've been going for 3 hours. I'm going to take a quick break and get a new bottle of water. I am very parched. So I will leave you guys in Lucky's hands real quick. I will pause the audio recording, and he will build roads, looks like.
That's what I'm trying to do. I accidentally fucked up and I put down the wrong type. Which is important because there is chi and feng shui in this area. So if you're not careful about what you put down, you will just fuck up the area, and things will happen, like plants will not grow and shit like that. Which is my current concern right now. Alright. Wait, are we being attacked? Oh, we are. Yo, dog, go fuck him up. Bonk. And done. Good job, dog. I was listening to Omega talk, so I wasn't actually able to pay that much attention. I was just like, wait, what? Wait. What's happening as I try to get this person to actually fucking cultivate? Okay, their state is still good. Let's check that. It is going up super fucking slow. God damn it. Here, let's do that. Let's... Oh, I might have to just actually start all over because this person's gonna turn into a fucking bear! A giant demon bear! That's not good. I mean, we're streaming, so... Well, no, it's not that you want to wait for the recording, it's you want to talk to Omega, not me. Because you're afraid of me, Axe. Alright, let's try again to fix these fucking roads. Alright. Did I do it right this time? Why is there a... I don't know why that is there. I should probably remove it. Has there been an anime? You've really been on Darkest Hillside Thicket, but...
Well, I mean, I love Darkest Hillside Thickets, but I don't think that's thematically appropriate.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if that we should not be too meta with Delta Green. Like, technically, I don't even know if some of Lovecraft's were supposed to exist.
Did I get it? Okay, I think I got it all. Okay. Again, X, this is like one of the things I find really weird about your character is that we're trying to, stay away from the quote-unquote real-world mythos so we can use our own interpretations. But you keep, even if it's only in a fictional sense, you keep wanting to use references from the actual mythos. Like, you talk about how your character's wife watches all the fictions and stuff, so knows about it, and then relates that to you, so therefore when something comes up, you can relate it to someone else, and then say, oh, my wife told me. But to me, personally, that feels like a weird kind of cop-out, so you can get around the rules, so you can seem like you're really super knowledgeable about something, when in fact you're not actually being knowledgeable about something. It's weird to me. It's really, really weird. It's like you want to show off without trying to show off, but you're still showing off. Because, like, I don't know if that makes sense to you. I might not be explaining it the best way, but
So, I don't want to, I don't like to dog on anybody. I don't want to dog on Axe. I will say, we're over it, but we had a couple of semi-tense conversations pre-DG about, like, what the general assumptions of, like, the setting were and how clued in. I don't want to say it's a bad habit. I listen to a lot of actual plays as well. I've learned a lot about systems, but Axe also listens to like actual plays and analysis of game rules. And then I feel like Axe, you kind of take stuff that people say or do in a setting, like kind of as a given. Yeah, you even said it. You were more familiar with the Outlaws perspective, which is a little bit different because, more secretive, rules are more limited. I think you even said sometimes you kind of prefer it as the program because some of the times listening to these games, you saw how unhelpful case officers could be, and it was just, because they're limited resources. You guys having a little bit more of a secure lifeline, even if it's spookier, is, more useful. But, like, you tend to like assume that just because somebody ran something some way that way on the internet, that's like the proper way to do it. Which is, funnily enough, there's no proper way to do anything. Now, don't take that the wrong way, audience. There's absolutely the wrong way to do shit. Trying to jam everything into D&D 5e is one of those things. But there's still a lot of variables, and, like, ultimately, I think I was more right than wrong about some of the things I was aiming for going into Delta Green. Like, I've fairly thoroughly... Sorry, I did get water and open my window, so I'm good for another couple of minutes. But, we've been going for a little. Little tongue-tied. Blah, blah, blah. I have now fairly thoroughly read the Handler's Guide and, like, got myself in the tropes. And I think part of the issue is Delta Green's actually pretty old for an RPG. I think it's about as old as I am. It might actually be older than Axe is. He's in his early 20s.
I thought he was in his mid-20s.
Maybe he... Let me actually check the Delta Green published date.
You're
okay, 1997. So I think it's about as it's almost as old as he is. The original is 1997. So it's almost as old as I am. Let's see, 97. I'm pretty sure I could read by then. I was a fairly early reader, but I would only have been about 5 years old. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I was doing in 1997. But yeah, so a lot of the people who write the game, run the game, study the game, have been following this fictional universe for, at least that long. And part of the reason why the Handler's Guide is written the way it is so that as a GM, you don't feel like you have to have that level of system mastery. You can kind of, like, do your own things or, like, put your own twist on things. Or they even, like, offer alternative names to, like, well-known mythos creatures and gods so that just to try and, like, give you the impression of something fresh. I honestly think a lot of people like to play Delta Green for that, like, inherent mythos knowledge, and they've read all the fucking side novels and all the source books, and oh, by the way, we've got, Adam Scott Glancy or John Scott Tynes in the game, or, Dennis Detwiller or whoever, a lot of the big guys in the original run. and they know what's up, and they kind of like a lot of style of games I've seen with that. They kind of play to that, where they kind of like the characters kind of know, oh yeah, it's probably ghouls or something, but the players probably know, but the characters are kind of out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you should know what video games are, but this is the primary conceit of a Cthulhu Mythos set game. It doesn't work as a secret mythos if the mythos actually exists as a fictional setting. At least not within reason. There's some talk in the Handler's Guide about how to, like, you know, do people know about mythosy things? And like, oh yes, you know, scholars will scoff at the names Cthulhu and Nyarlathotep as like, you know, just the same old rigmarole as everything else. Like, there's cultural touchstones in history, but things that are, like, there's no Call of Cthulhu RPG or video game. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's not intentional. Delta Green would probably have had to censor that, you know. You know, there is no, obviously, Delta Green RPG. That would be, you know, a breach of security. H.P. Lovecraft may or may not exist. I kind of like the idea that, you know, maybe he did exist, but his, you know, fiction is all, like, really obscure and out of touch and nobody studies it. But also a lot of his fiction is first person, so the mythos works a lot better if... I mean, you can be in Pathfinder, but then you should ignore everything Pathfinder has stolen from the Cthulhu mythos for no good reason. You should ignore that anyway, but in an in-character point of view... Sorry, that's just a dig about how I do not necessarily think you should be stuffing the Cthulhu mythos into D20 games. But anyway, I do think they may have some interesting ideas for some stuff and like trying to make it work in a fantasy cosmology, which is interesting because not all of the original Cthulhu mythos, like Weird Tales stuff, was set in like present day, present time. There are quite a lot of ancient histories or far future bullshit that was very fantastical. But like, as a general rule, OPSEC and just general, you know, pervasiveness means it doesn't make sense. And if the mythos is true, a lot of Lovecraft stories don't make sense because, like I said, those are basically first-person narratives by people who are real characters. So if, like, some of those stories exist, they probably exist as true accounts in, like, diaries and shit. So I would not necessarily lean too much on that. There may be some weird times, and we may even see it in Starcourt, that, you know, there will be instances where you guys will run into pop culture stuff. I mean, I understand that, X. The pop culture osmosis is pretty strong. We do a lot of references in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mythos thing is just something that probably doesn't make sense. And we've talked about, like, what doesn't make sense a couple of times in, like, brief. We've never really had a powwow, like, on the show about it, though. But
I think I get what, I think I get what I'm trying to get at. Ax, I don't necessarily care that you, like, know these references and stuff. Is that when you try to make your character make these references in a system where they may or may not exist, where I think the disconnect is. I think that's what it is. Like, we're actually playing in a game of secrets and conspiracies. So you talking about these secrets and conspiracies you saw in the fiction in a fiction, it's like it's a layer too deep for me. That's what it is. It's
a little too meta, and it's kind of... I don't necessarily think it's, like, bad or wrong. I think it just makes the tone a little weird.
Yeah,
it's a little too meta. We're not actually playing Impossible Landscapes, which is about being meta, because I don't think I got the... Like I said, I don't think I got the guts to... That's weird. That's very involved. Now, like I said, at times, especially with the way I wrote Starcourt, there may actually be some meta commentary, but that would not be, like, for a gag or, like, a familiar touch point or a character quirk. It will be to make you guys go, like, this is really weird. We, like, actually deal with this stuff on an everyday basis, you know? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you know, that depends on your unnatural score. And we've talked about this before. There is actually a decent outline of the unnatural score, and I have spread it to you guys. I have broken the sacred seal of the Handler's Guide and been like, yeah, here's what the Handler's Guide has as a rough outline for your unnatural levels. Kara's over 10%, pretty sure.
I'm over 20.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you in character, you know a lot of shit. Funnily enough, I don't think Lucky as a person knows all the references, but, you know, as a character, Kara can insert some stuff. Yeah, if you're at about 10%, you know, Benowitz has achieved through his horrifying encounters with the unnatural anyway, some understanding of some stuff that goes on there. I don't know if necessarily it makes the most sense for you to like use that as, like I said, not necessarily a joke, but a familiar reference, a like a low tension spot. We talked a lot about at the start of this with like lattes and legends, the like high to low tension stuff. Okay, you're only at 6.
I thought you were higher. Interesting.
Well, I'm sure we'll fix that.
Oh, you try to be. That's what you want it to be. Okay.
Yeah, I think I definitely Axis said before he thinks 10 is his one of his caps.
That's
maybe.
What it is. That it is. Okay.
I thought you were a little closer to that.
Me too.
But okay, 6. We'll work on that. You were books nerd.
It's like, don't worry.
We'll solve that problem. You can have you can go to a state where you can never have those 10 sanity points back. But yeah, like. It's just the kind of thing where this is supposed to be a game of like horror and suspense, and obviously we don't clave too strictly to that because trying to make it too strict to horror doesn't work. And also, I've talked about this before. I fucking hate like purist scenarios where the player characters are literally useless and just melt or turn into mummies or whatever. There's no fun in that. It's just depression circus. I much prefer to do like a modern like. Not quite, but closer to like, some of the early or the most recent Resident Evil type shit where like, yeah, occasionally you guys get to bust out machine guns and go bang bang about stuff. But also sometimes that doesn't help you and you're just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You use the Resident Evil comparison 2X. I think that's okay. It's just using the Mythos itself for that point of contention is a little against genre because the unnatural is unnatural, that is, and they don't even call it the Mythos in Delta Green, the new edition. It is the unnatural. It is something that is not comforting, not normal. The fact that Kara is constantly studying the unnatural is, slowly fraying all of her interpersonal relationships, sending her into a horrifying spiral where, God knows what'll happen.
Yep.
So, like, it's... I have never, ever tried to run a Call of Cthulhu or Delta Green anything without tension breaks, like without like comic relief or just moments or occasionally you crack a joke. Sometimes I lean a little into black humor or gallows humor. I kind of like that stuff. I mean, I don't think humanity is based on a lie. It's just the main crux of cosmic horror is that the universe is bigger than you know and than we realize. And Delta Green does this in kind of a different way, where you guys as the players are not 100%, but you quickly become well aware that this is true. The world is wider than you know, wider than you've ever been taught.
I think like
and
the crux
it's
of
your job to make sure that everybody else doesn't realize this horrible truth, because that would be, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria shit.
Like, I think that's like one of the big cruxes for big cruxes of cosmic horror is not necessarily the tentacle monsters and whatnot. It's just making you realize how utterly insignificant you are as a person and as a species. Like,
what Mythos fiction are you reading, X? Honestly, most of Lovecraft's stuff is borderline sci-fi. It's about how scientific advancement will fuck us. It's not that science is wrong, but that we're going to make a new breakthrough and we're going to achieve something that was previously thought impossible, and then that will be bad. Which, honestly, a lot of science fiction has always been about. It's just Lovecraft does it in his own innumerable way, which is usually, like, very vague, very cosmic.
Fucking math, yo.
Sometimes varying level of racist. But, like, a lot of the stuff, those beyond Herbert West Reanimator, right? Like, I don't think those are necessarily anti-scientific, per se. Sorry, I'm loud. I'm going to push my mic a little further. It's the water. I've been rejuvenated. I'm hydrated. But more just so, like I said, it's, like, do we see, like, for instance, is Metal Gear Solid about how, like, science is wrong or whatever, because it's, like, nuclear weapons will blow us up? No, like, that's Hideo Kojima's on the track of, like, hey, nuclear escalation is bad, y'all. I am from Japan and lived through the Cold War. It sucks. Don't do it. Well, that's an interesting case. I don't want to try and not phrase this rudely. like I said, I'm trying to figure out the polite. I might just be direct and say I'm not trying to be rude. You may want to get over that axe because I actually, despite the fact that I am a huge fan of science, I also love secret history bullshit. I will absolutely make you guys fight serpent men or serpent folk or whatever the fuck it calls, or like, discover secrets about ancient language. And that to me is not about science being wrong per se, but like I said, our understanding is always evolving. The slice of history is huge. And I've said this before, like, if you go back to, like, geologic time, there's so many interesting things there. There's multiple mass extinctions and everything. Obviously, I have points where I draw the line. There's some stuff that I'm like, all right, that's, like, too bullshit. The Kenya and the Moonface people is one of those things where I'm just like, all right, what the fuck? There are ancient, super advanced humans who are 5-foot-tall conehead giants with psychic powers that just live under North America. Who the fuck came up with this? Why do we use this exactly as it was written? Because to me, I'm like, this is absurd. If there were, like, decadent psychic superhumans 10,000 or 100,000, 10,000 is too small, like 100,000 years ago, why the fuck are there still Homo sapiens chilling on on the top? Like, I guess you could argue they became so decadent they collapsed, but then why the fuck aren't they extinct? Like, just make them extinct, and then that's the, like, cosmic horror. Holy shit, there used to be more advanced humans than us who were, like, a higher level of being, and now they're fucking dead. What hope do we have? Kind of a thing, right?
Right.
Like, that's, like, where Eclipse Phase goes with a lot of its existential horror, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you stumble across alien ruins, and you're like, holy shit, these aliens are so advanced. Oh, wait, they're all dead. What the fuck? Serpent men, I like serpent folk because, there's some funny history with, like, conspiracy theories and stuff there you can work in. Serpent folk are kind of like, they are an actual fallback, right? Like, those guys are fucked. They used to have an empire that spanned, all of Volusia, and like I went on a whole Twitter ramble about where I think that is and what that means and all that other stuff. But now they're like, they live literally underground because they got in a lot of wars, and they'd love to like do a clawback, but they can't really claw back because they're too busy fighting each other to ever like have enough unity to pick on the human. But the fact that snakes with legs exist is still like such a fundamental challenge to our understanding of world history. Like, can you imagine the fucking public clusterfuck if scientists came out today and were like, hey, we have this reptile skull. Its brain case indicates this thing had about as much brain power as we do. This was probably a sentient species, and they've been extinct for 5 million years, or 35 million years, or 100 million years. That would be, like, mind-boggling. There would be so many philosophic debates. There would be all kinds of, like, curiosity and terror and denial. That's serpent folk, right?
Yep.
Which, by the way, the Delta Green RPG has actually, funnily enough, there's, what is it called? I think it's the Snake of Najash. There are actually snakes with pelvises, fossils we found that are millions of years old. And the Delta Green Handler's Guide directly ties that to the serpent folk, but I thought that was just a cool history fact. Like, dude, snakes with legs. Makes sense. In the fossil record, I think actually proving something would be sentient would be hard. We have so many debates over, like, how smart dinosaurs were. Because it's hard to correlate, like, brain case capacity with, like, how good they are without the actual soft tissue. Like, think about parrots, Mm-hmm. Parrot's skull not too big, but they have pretty powerful brains, and they're some of the smartest motherfuckers on the planet. Fucking octopodes, geniuses. Even them, they're not that huge, So it's hard to tell. Head size and skull size not necessarily correlated to brain, but like So there are definitely some silly tropes and some stuff that have not aged well in the Mythos that I kind of want to like not tap into, and do my own twist on. But I think there's a lot of room out there because, like I said, I don't necessarily think cosmic horror is anti-scientific a lot of the time, or at least it's not originally intended. There are honestly, stuff like Hyperborea. That's like old school pulp shit. Like, the fact that Conan the Barbarian is tangentially related to H.P. Lovecraft and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because that's just like weird old school pulp shit. That's not necessarily the vibe we're going for with Delta Green. I'm pretty sure there's some, Conan RPGs we could dig up if we really wanted to.
I mean, even Conan Exiles was kind of like that shit.
Yeah. And Conan has always been that way.
Yeah.
What's... Conan the Barbarian. Not the movie. Well, very iconic. Not what I'm looking for. Sword and Sorcery. It was originally by, Robert Howard. Who wrote in a lot of, weird tales and stuff like that. Very prolific pulp writer. But wrote stuff like Solomon Kane. Sorry, I am flicking through Robert Howard's bibliography. It's called Solomon Kane. So much. Hold on. I'm going to do this in a different way. Mythos Wiki, H.P. Lovecraft Wiki. Help a brother out. What Howard story? Yeah, Weird Tales, Conan the Barbarian. Known just corresponded with August Clark Acton Smith, etc. Yeah, so he didn't write any, I think, directly Mythos-related stuff, but was hardly influenced. Christian Smith wrote some Mythos pulp stories as well, like future history and past shit. Atlantis, Zolthic, etc.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wide variety of people in the circle, And what was it? I think it was a couple weeks ago now. I talked about that one Savage Worlds things. What was it? Unnatural Space. Eldritch Skies, right. Where it was like trying to be much more science fiction than cosmic, while still sticking to the mythos. And it went probably a little too softball in that direction, but still, there's definitely some more sciencey stuff there. There are definite tones I'm going for with Delta Green. A lot of that is much more like modern or postmodern and kind of... I definitely like the commentary of being like, honestly, that was kind of, I think, the great selling point of Rats in the Walls. It was like, you guys were like, all right, we're going to solve this weird found corpse problem. And then you're like, oh my God, we have a 200-year-old family cannibal cult. What the fuck? Like, so much of that was just you guys kept digging and be like, oh, the fuck is this real? Oh my God, it's real. Like, that moment of realizing that, like, something that complex and old had such far-reaching implications. The big reveal at the bottom is, like, you find the rocks that are, like, literally older than human habitation on North America, and you're like, nope, it's too much. I'm leaving. We're going home. Set the C4. Let's go. I'm going to take my box of silver and fuck off. So it's about that juxtaposition of, like, you guys are professionals. You are the cream of the crop, allegedly. You are federal alphabet soup agencies, federal law enforcement, FBI, DEA. Marth's character is a fucking Navy SEAL. Very highly rated. Talented, professional. Dallas's character is weird, but it's okay. He's old. He has extra skills. He at least can, even if he's not necessarily, like, highly elite as National Park Agency. That works for, with comics, and some of those might get into some of the things, but, making references to, like, Cape comics and stuff is kind of interesting. I would say to be careful about that, because Mythos is public domain. There's a lot of Cthulhu shit in Marvel for no good reason. But I think you can probably still, like, make some stuff. I don't know if there'll be 5%er jokes with Dallas around. That guy knows some comic book shit. But I would definitely see, like, if it's not directly Mythos related, cosmic horror concepts as like a fictional thing are probably not new. You know, like fuck, maybe you guys have, you know, read some Hellboy, which I don't think Hellboy necessarily name drops anything explicitly H.P. Lovecraft. It's just kind of in that vein, you know. And then there's you know, Watchmen has some in the actual comic, the graphic novel. Watchmen has some like gribbly tentacle monsters at the end. But that's the kind of thing where that's the sand check moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
For both Axe and everybody at home. That moment when you're like, wait, you're telling me that this, you know, comic book concept, this thing for, you know, kids and young adults, that is kind of sort of real in a horrifying way I never imagined? Oh my god. Well, shit. Fuck.
Oh, well.
I'm going to burn it with fire now.
Sick. Note
Let's
to
go.
self, we
Let's
need
get out of here.
flamethrowers.
I mean, ever since watching Aliens, everybody needs flamethrowers. It's my personal opinion. I should buy. Honestly, that might explain some of Benowitz's cavalier attitude. He thinks he's in a Hellboy comic, which is, you know, spooky and freaky, but still you have a decent amount of agency. Also, Hellboy has huge guns.
Big guns. Blam, blam. And monkeys with guns.
Is that a monkey? He's got a gun! Bang, bang, bang.
I am.
Oh, yeah, Aliens does. H.R. Giger definitely exists. Again, the horror is realizing that, like, oh, that shit Giger saw in his nightmares is, like, real. That's not some shit he just made up. I mean, he may have made it up to him, but wow, freaky. I would love if you guys made Alien reference. Somebody should, you know, say, stay frosty. They mostly come out at night. Mostly. I don't think there's any references you can make in Alien, because that one's a lot more just subtle and horror. God, it's been so long. I should watch the original Alien. It's been a while.
It's
Aliens
good.
and Alien and Aliens are great movies, and thank God they never made any more.
Sir.
Something like that. No, they did. Prometheus was weird, but it was okay. I don't remember anybody saying Covenant was any good.
Resurrection, I think, is one of the weirdest, personally.
The Resurrection is weird. I think I've only ever seen that one in clips, but that was enough to let me know this is the weird one. And I mean, some franchises embrace that. I've watched a retrospective on like the Hellraiser series, which starts as like, you know, really, you know, gritty, niche, gross horror movies, and then just as like weird. It doesn't help the fact that a lot of the like later block of the Hellraiser movies were just, these weren't even Hellraiser scripts. It's just the fucking company needs the franchise rights, so they take an unrelated, you know, gore horror script and turn it into a Hellraiser movie. Yeah, I think the punch up in Prometheus is a little low, but there's still some good shit in it. And it has a lot of the original like Alien Space Explorer vibe that I like. But I mean, you know, the originals exist and they're pretty chef's kiss. Both, you know, Alien for just classic space horror, and then Aliens for like action horror sci-fi, right? A classic. Away from her, you bitch. Exosuit punch. But yeah, I think we've oh right, Aaron was in chat earlier. I'm trying to Aaron, if you're still here, did you resolve your work thing? Are we good for tomorrow? If you've not resolved, that's okay. You know, I'll leave you to it, but I want to ask because I was going to say, I think we've talked about our tone setting for Delta Green if we need to get anything out of there. No, the only thing I think otherwise for Delta Green is I need to ask you guys if you remember what bonds you damaged, because we've done 2 or 3 like 2 real story arcs and stuff. And I don't think anybody has yet to actually work on maintaining or improving their bonds.
I've lost some, but I haven't worked on improving any. I'll tell you that much right now. Listen, I got shit to study.
I do think at least none of you have had to do the something I definitely want to do in Starcourt, just as a thing, is I want to make some of you guys, you know, actually do some of the bond mechanics and lose bond to save sand.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if I can actually accomplish that one. But you guys have not actively been like smacking your bonds to like eat sand, so it's not a huge deal. I'm just like, I can say for sure, yeah, which bonds did you guys damage, I wonder? So I'll have to see if everybody remembers that one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start the fuck over, son of a bitch.
How long have you had Amazing Cultivation Simulator?
I don't know, but let me check here. Can I?
Because honestly, with these kinds of games, that's not that uncommon. If you got, you play an early game for a while and you realize, now fuck, I'm stuck in a fail state. Fuck.
I've played 41 hours. Some of that's fake though, because I might have left it on while I slept for 5 hours. So probably around 30. So I got it last week, and I probably genuinely played like 35 hours of it.
Yeah, I mean that's still fairly early for these kinds of games, so probably not that surprising.
No, I'm
disheartening, but
again, I'm trying to figure out I have to learn the mechanics. Like these games, you can't just throw down anything and be like, it works magically. You have to learn the systems bit by bit.
We bring back our meme from a couple hours ago. It just works.
Yeah. And like I said, I am technically cheating in this game by letting my inner disciples work. Normally, I wouldn't have them yet. I'd be just building up stuff and trying to gather resources so my cultivators can cultivate super fast. But
like I said, seems like a fair.
I think it's a fair.
That's why mods exist.
Excuse me. Oh, but I think I'm starting to lose it myself.
Yeah, it's later.
Oh, Baron says he'll post in Cabal.
Okay. Probably means that we may have to get at a slightly later time or earlier time or whatever. We'll work it out. Scheduling. But with that note, I think we are probably running out of gas. Let me double check my list, but I think I got everything. We're pretty good. It's everything I had a note about. Mm-hmm. Was there anything at all you otherwise wanted to bring up today, Lucky?
Me?
Or have you just been jamming all the cultivation simulators?
I've just been jamming. Like I said, I've been in almost a mental breakdown for like the past week. So I literally not done anything. I have not watched anything. I have not played anything besides mindless. I've been reading light novels. That's about it, and nothing super Ooh, excuse me. And nothing's been really exciting there. So no, unfortunately, I got nothing this week.
Okay.
Hopefully next week I'll be better and still have a
I'm about to say. Hopefully we can get you out of that funk. No, I believe you have told me at least you're excited for Star Court, so I will be happy to get into Delta Green.
I am. Like I said, I do need to actually figure out maybe some character details and maybe get some purchases squared away. If not for
Go ahead.
If not for like mechanic reasons, for fluff reasons.
Yeah, fair enough, and we can work on that. And we might have a little bit extra time. Aaron, yeah, it'll be probably starting a little later, but yeah, we'll get into it. I hope you will watch the AP. If you don't watch the AP, I may never forgive you. But you'll have to wait a few days for that at least. So, like I said, I will probably, I don't have to, once I edit this audio and post it, I don't have to do anything else. So I will probably post this audio, and then I'll just post the AP audio to Patreon early, and then tomorrow we'll go. So, yeah, that'll be good. Dallas hasn't told me he'll be dead, so he should be there. So, yeah, that'll be a good time. I hope to get into it. I'm a little nervous, because I put a lot of work into this one, but I hope I can deliver at least to my expectations. Mm-hmm. And, hopefully you guys enjoy the ride. Ugh. But, Lucky's out of juice. I'm out of juice. My legs are tired, sitting here all curled up. Oh. So, I think we should probably wind down as I, eat a big yawn.
Eat that big yawn. Oh, excuse me.
Everybody yawn.
Oh,
/ yawn in chat.
Jesus.
I don't know about good night. It's like 10, but,
It's only 7-something for me.
I do believe, if I remember correctly, Mythbusters did test psychologically that yawning is slightly contagious. It's not like a guarantee, but yeah. Okay. So, anyway, I'm going to do the outro. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. I see there's 10 viewers and only 8 likes. How dare? Just insert the Fry Fix-It clip here.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any comments, you can leave in the comment section down below. You can also join our Discord. You can yell about games, other stuff, fun times. and use the normal comment section on YouTube. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Currently, we are trying to. Well, I'm trying, and by trying, I mean I'm daring that the audience will not get us to 3,100 subs. So I will do a fail portrayal Yu-Gi-Oh art stream about all the Dimension Dragons from Arc 5. So, that's going to be very goopy for me and everybody else I drag along to hell with me. So I double dog dare you to get us to 3,100. You won't. And if you do, I'll have something a little special for you.
Yay.
So, subs up. Even if you're already subbed, hit the bell for notifications so you always know we post a new video or when we stream, such as when we stream on Mondays. Coming soon, more Skyward Sword. Lucky will thump that weird tooth potato man.
Yeah. I'll save the discussion for actually Monday, but yeah, I'm a little mad.
So, we got the Monday stream. Tuesdays usually stream Fail Portrayal, so if you want to actually see what's up with there, we got some stuff for that. Yeah, I think it's all the shilling, so ring the bell so you get theirs. You can, follow us on Twitter. Links enclosed as well. You can also support us by joining our channel memberships. Get access to membership badges and emotes displayed for you in the sidebar now. It's a lovely time. Helps support us out. You can also, like I said at the front of the show, support us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes in audio format for as little as $1 a month or about $10 a year. Higher levels get access to videos early and other stuff. Get access to topic polls, both for Let's Talk FGO, our flagship podcast, and other stuff. And just in general, have a good time.
Yeah.
It's good for us. Okay. All right. As you can tell by the fact that I flubbed the outro, I am running out of gas. So let's get out of here. Good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next time.
Okay.